And welcome. We're missing a few people, but it is what it is. So, welcome to the Casual Shooter Circus, your premier circus for the casual lion tamer. Rob can't join. Apparently, it's blocking him. So, apparently, Evie Mux is smarter than us.
Come on, Rob.
So,
Oh,
get
we're
with it,
live right now.
Rob.
This is cool. I get
Yeah,
it.
we
I
are
get it.
live.
We're live.
Whoa. What are you doing not in a car indoor?
I have real internet now. I have
I
fiber
do not.
optic. I'm in
Really?
my basement and I can
I
record
know.
podcast here.
I
It's amazing.
recognize that dry fire range. Oh. So Rob says, all right, I will post a link into, well, he just said,
Rob should, well, it was trying, Rob, the link that I had said that you need to do it on Safari, not on Chrome. So, but Rob can't hear me. So,
correct. Let me go into Instagram. I'll just. There we go.
and I will put in my earbuds and then we'll have better audio on my end. But my phone is really low on battery, so I feel like I should prioritize that.
Okay. All right. So I sent the link again, and I said Jay said use Safari.
Yeah.
If you're on an iPhone.
That's right. Because I don't own a computer. I don't own a laptop.
Okay.
My wife does, but I do not.
And I don't own an iPhone.
Oh, that's right. You have like a Android or something.
I do. I have a Samsung.
Okay.
I'm on my computer. Then use Chrome. Still not letting me join. All right, let me. Here we go.
Because
Copy,
Rob has not done this before, so
paste. He has not. All right, so I sent him a second link, a different link, and let's see what happens. I just think the internet knows.
I think that they know that once he gets on here,
It's going to break.
yeah, it's gonna break.
Yeah.
But I think it's appropriate that we build the suspense of Rob joining anyway.
This is going to be our first chance to talk since you shot nationals.
Yeah, yeah. I was sad not to see you there, but I understand. Well, for multiple reasons, it was probably just best not to go this year. So for you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, but I will tell you though, I was hating life that first day. I was like, man, I wanted to be there shooting it, but it is what it is.
yeah, yeah. I know. I hope that in the future, if they do a standalone Carry Optics Nationals, that it will be this big. But with limited optics coming around, I don't know if it will be or not. We'll see.
All right, let me
There he is.
Let
What's
me
up,
fit this guy in
Robert?
here where he's supposed to be. There we go.
I made it. The link you sent me didn't work.
And don't blame your IT stuff on me, man.
It's David's fault.
Look, man, I get it. I get it. Trust me, I'm a boomer with computers too. It's all right.
There we go. Fits you right where you needed to be.
So what's happening, gentlemen?
Well, apparently we're live right now on YouTube.
Apparently so.
That's what they say.
There's Dave. Dave, you good, bud? What's going on?
That was weird. Boom, there we go.
You
Why?
moved locations on my screen. I can still only see your mouth and chin though, and the bottom of your nose. But don't worry about me.
Who, mine or Dave's? I can see all of Dave's face.
I can see all of your face, but not all of Dave's face.
He's working his magical wizard powers.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I just did all this. I don't know what is. Uh-oh.
It's probably because you invited me. I screwed
That's
it
what-
all up. It's my fault as usual. I apologize.
So the original link that I send you guys is the link specifically for you. So the system knows when you come in, it puts you where I've already assigned you.
Right.
But when I send you the
Uh,
second link, it's just a generic guest link. And when you follow that, I've got to then resize you and put you where I need you.
Understood.
So that's what we had
All
to
right.
do. Now, Rob, you shot Optics Nationals?
No, sir.
No.
So I'm a loser this year. I'm not doing. I wasn't supposed to do any majors. I decided to go back for a grad school degree, master's in business administration in February.
Mm.
So when I did that, my plan was I'm not going to shoot any majors at all until I graduate in June of 2024. It's like a crash course type thing. It goes for 14 months.
Mm.
Once you're done, you're done. And originally I wasn't going to shoot any majors, but I did Delmarva sectional in Maryland because they had walk-on slots available. I was unemployed at the time too. That was the fun part. So I was like, do I have $160 to shoot this match? Yeah, screw it. Let's see what happens. So I shot that. And then my sponsor was kind enough to pay for me to do Maryland State Outdoor Dynamics. John from Outdoor Dynamics, thank you. He was
Okay.
kind enough to pay for me to do that. So I did that and shot that. And then there was just no way in hell I was going to get into, even if I wanted to. Like the problem is it was so popular this year. Even if I had thought about wanting to do it at the last second, there would have been no way. There would have been no
Maryland
way.
State or
Carry
What are you
Optics
talking about?
Nationals.
oh,
Yeah, there would have been no way. It was so popular. And that's actually kind of what preluded our discussion into having this podcast. Originally, I wasn't intending for it to be a shit show, but
it hasn't gone. It's not bad yet. So
Yeah.
I think we have to ask Rob the questions first because everybody has to answer the questions because Rob hasn't been on before. I think
Oh,
it's
the-
really important. Rapid
the
fire.
initial 5.
Yeah, rapid fire
Okay.
questions.
All right, Rob.
Let's do
Question number 1: what's your favorite movie?
Talladega Nights.
Yes.
Well, that makes sense why you said you're a loser. If you're not first, you're last. I get it. Makes perfect sense now.
No, that's just
Okay.
like the ultimate American movie. I mean, like if there was ever a movie about the common American man, like Rocky's done, like the shit's over and dead, right? Ricky Bobby is the common man, okay, that came back. He experienced pain and he met a nice young lady who got his shit together. And now he's the champion. And then his dad came back and loved him too. Made me cry a little bit.
Thanks for the-
Okay. But I never saw Tom Cruise use his witchcraft, so I'm disappointed.
I don't want to see Tom Cruise in general. That's all.
All right. Most people don't read. Rob, favorite book?
Oh, damn, I can't think of the title of it.
Something for Dummies.
Five Pillars.
Something for-
5 Pillars of Wisdom. T.E. Lawrence.
What is it now?
Have you ever seen the movie Lawrence of Arabia? Jay, you probably haven't, but have you seen
I
it?
have. I have. Yes.
I
Oh, yeah.
know the movie, but no, I did not see it.
It's
So he
like
wrote a
4
book.
hours long.
He wrote a
Yeah.
book before he died about his experiences and what back then just used to be Arabia. Like that whole place, like before there was an Iraq and Afghanistan, anything, like that was just all Arabia, and like nobody went there except just to get oil. And the Ottomans went there, and for the same reasons that everybody's over there today. But T.E.
Yeah,
Lawrence, he wrote a book about his experiences, and that's easily one of the best books I've ever read. Mainly because I can kind of sympathize with where the guy's coming from. I think most guys can. He was just a normal dude who was kind of a screw up. And then just by happenstance, they sent him on this assignment where they thought he was going to die. And it was an impossible task. And they're like, you know what? We're just going to send you off and you're going to do your own thing. And then he actually got all the tribes of Arabia to band together and start fighting against the Ottomans. It's an incredible book. If you get the chance to read it, you should definitely read it.
Okay. Side note, do you coach basketball?
I do not. So, side note, My life has been screwed up since 2020, late 2021. My life's been a little bit screwed up, but me and my lady split. I was living with my lady, and me and my lady split in February, and I was unemployed at the time, and I just found employment like a month ago. So I was living with my folks. I'm still currently here. I need to scrape a little bit of money together so I can move out and get my own place. This is my dad's office. He's been coaching basketball for 40 years.
Oh, okay.
And he loves John
Yeah.
Wayne. He loves John Wayne. He loves the Packers. That's his shtick.
All
But
right.
his
1 out of 2 is
basketball
not
is-
bad.
Now, you ever heard of Morgan Wooten?
No.
No.
He's the only high school basketball coach to be ever in the Basketball Hall of Fame. My dad used to coach with him way long ago, back in DeMatha High School. Now, he was just a young guy at the time. He was an assistant. Morgan Wooten's been dead for years. But out of those guys came Mike Bray, who just gave up his position at the University of Notre Dame as the head basketball coach. And then Pete Strickland came out of that too. Pete's been retired now for a while though, but if you look hard enough, you can find like snippets of him on like ESPN, and he used to coach around and stuff like that. So kind of the dream team. My dad just did high school because he wanted to focus on having kids.
Okay. Fair enough. Number 3, favorite gun and caliber, and they don't have to be linked together. If your favorite gun's 1911, 45 doesn't have to be your favorite caliber.
Favorite gun, Smith & Wesson model number 3. And I don't know what caliber it would come in. I assume it would be 45 long Colt, or like one of the weird ass calibers they used to use back in the Old West days. It's a Schofield. It's the Old West gun.
That's cool.
Okay.
I've always wanted a pair, but the only place you can find one these days is in like 38 Special or 357 Magnum, because the calibers that it was invented in, those have been dead for a long time. Like 45 long Colt, like you can actually still buy that, but good luck finding it. The original caliber was like some weird caliber, like 44 something or another. It's not a 44 Magnum. Like night and day difference between what this caliber was and what a 44 Magnum is. But yeah, I've always wanted one of those. $1,000 at Taylor's and Sons in Winchester, Virginia, and I'm not going to buy that.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you're a superhero kind of guy. I am not.
Spider-Man.
Okay,
Yes.
you are.
That was mine.
Why Spider-Man?
Again, he's a relatable dude. Like he's a guy who is just trying to do the right thing, and he's trying to hold it all together. And on top of that, he's a nerd. He ends up getting a hot girlfriend / wife though. So that's the dream team right there. And on top of that, like he can spin webs and like kick ass and all that other stuff. Every other superhero is overrated, including the Punisher.
Overrated. I mean, Superman's a hard one to say he's overrated.
He's too cliche. Like that was like, I get it. He's the original one, but like, he's like a Model T, right? Like that's what they had at the time. So they're like, we're just going to have a guy that like nothing can touch him except this bullshit that nobody's ever heard of before. And meanwhile, then you got Spider-Man who like, he's trying to deal with his life. He's trying to deal with work. He's got multiple people who hate him. And on top of that, like he's got a girlfriend that he's trying to keep a track of and everything else, and aunt and all this other stuff. Superman didn't have Jack. He didn't have
He had
anything
adoptive
except
parents.
for Lois Lane, right?
Hey, she wasn't a bad-looking lady.
Well, we don't know because it was in the 30s.
So which Spider-Man in the movies is your favorite? I'm going with that.
I like, believe it or not, I hate the Tom Holland one. I cannot stand that. And the main reason is just because it's too cliche and everybody's like, oh my God, Tom Holland. Do not care about Tom Holland. I actually kind of like the Andrew Garfield one, believe it or not. But I think the Spider-Man video game one is the best. Like the video game that just came out, like the sequel's due this year. I don't know who the actor was for that, but that's the best one if you Google it.
Okay. Is Tobey Maguire one?
Tobey Maguire was one, yeah. When they did their stupid little get together, he was in that.
Okay. That's been my favorite one so far, but Those are the only ones I've
Maguire,
seen.
that's a good one. There's nothing wrong with Toby Maguire. I have no, just so you're not offended.
It's
It
no,
doesn't matter to me.
And we're trying to offend Dave the whole time. Okay, stick with the program.
What's your favorite superhero, Dave?
I don't have one.
I thought it was Superman for a minute.
Default Spider-Man. Dave likes Spider-Man.
Now, what I will say is you guys are way too young to know this, but way back in the day in the late 70s, they used to have early morning real cartoons, not this fake crap they have now. And they had Spider-Man cartoons on in the morning. I watched it all the time. I loved those cartoons. They were
I actually
very,
used to
very
watch
good.
those.
They're very
I used
good.
to watch those myself. They ran those up until so like you're right. Cartoon Network. They used to host like the old Hanna-Barbera, like Scooby-Doo's and all that stuff. They used to do that
Okay.
up until like mid 2000s. And those used to run on Cartoon Network, but it's all different now. It's so different. There's no conflict anymore. Everybody's just trying to help each other.
Who? What's the name of the Rhino guy? Bad guy.
Rhino.
Is that what it is? Just Rhino?
Yeah, he's Rhino. Yeah.
He was my favorite bad guy.
Yes. Well, he is easily one of the best ones.
That dude could take out walls. I mean, he just literally run through walls. I was like, that guy's pretty bad.
Yeah, well, so you'd like the video game. They actually have him as like one of the main villains that you have to fight, and they have him like with a Russian accent, and it's hilarious listening to like this big dumb mongrel in this.
Oh my god!
So like everything he's saying is like Russian. He's like getting mad. He's like, "This is Chase of Goose. I hate Chase of Goose."
All right.
You'd like it. I know your leg's all done up, so if you're looking for something to do, video games aren't a bad option. Just saying.
It gets old sitting around.
I can believe that.
All right. So how did you two meet?
We met at Carry Optics Nationals last year.
Oh.
But we met online before that, apparently, but I didn't know who you were. You were just sending me weird messages.
That sounds like me. Yeah, that's me.
And we're going to a commercial break. Kidding.
Can't tell if he's
Really?
being serious or not. No, I was gonna say, so I found out who he was because Matt Hempel tagged him in something. This is like when I was just getting into USPSA, like kind of like more so, especially on the Instagram scene. And he tagged him in something, and Jay did like, I don't know, like a sub-second 25-yard mini popper draw. And I was like, holy
We'll
shit.
go with that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, some of the stuff you posted, I was like, who the hell is this guy? So I started asking him questions and stuff like that. And he started firing some back. But of course, me being me, I started commencing to saying dumb things. So it kind of got off the rails a little bit.
I always assume that people are serious when they're sending me messages, or like that every message is like, I'm trying to think my way through it. But this was not the case with Rob, so it was great. Kind of got me thinking a little bit more. And then I realized that 99% of the messages Rob sends are not serious, but I didn't realize that on my own. You had to tell me that. So then that was good. It made a lot more sense when I then met you in person because we were on the same squad at 2022 Nationals. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got lucky together. I didn't even know I was on his squad. Somebody gave me their slot that realistically I wasn't even supposed to have, but they sent me and I took it. And I just happened to get in JBL's squad, like completely. So like we were in the same squad with Cal. Who else? Magnus was in there. Bryce Dupuis, and
Yep.
his
Joel Fisher.
Yeah, Joel was in there. He's
Saul, Jeff Hughes.
Yes, Jeff Hughes
was
is
in there. Actually, I shot with Jeff Hughes. Wait, did I shoot with him at another Nationals? I feel like I shot with him at 2020 Nationals, but I'm not sure.
Nah, he said his first Carry Optics Nationals ever was in 2022. That's the only one he's ever been to.
I shot with him at Trident in 2021, maybe.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. He didn't go this year. He just got, funny enough, Dave, he just got knee surgery too. He's getting both his knees redone. They're both shot to hell, and he's been wrestling since he was 6 years old. So
Pun intended.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would feel bad for the guy because he would when we got down there, like getting into my truck, he was like, "Oh, this is fine," and then like getting out of my truck, he would be like, "Ah!" Like, Jeff, are you okay, buddy? He's like, "Yeah, I just need a knees. Fine, give me a minute."
It's funny because Jeff Hughes is only like 19 years old. I mean, you would never.
So apparently he's not a youngster.
He's got salt and pepper hair, man. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, maybe not.
Hey, you know, it was, when was it? What year was that? 98? 99? 98. I think oh no, wait, hold on. Went in 97. 99. So it would have been, yeah, 98 or 99. I cut all my hair off. So at that point, I was roughly 31, 32. And I shaved it because I was going to Texas for a couple of months. I mean, it's going to be hot. I'm going to be in Wichita Falls. It's going to be hot. And it was hot. It was like standing in a blow dryer hot. It was ridiculous. And when it grew back, it was all gray. Like there was no salt and pepper. It was 100% gray. Like silver gray. Yeah.
That's
And I was like, I guess I'm going bald the rest of my life. So yeah,
Dude,
31 or 30.
I would have done that. You could have looked like Chris Christopherson.
That's okay. That's all right. I just want his money. I don't want his looks.
Look, all I'm saying is you might have gotten a part in those Blade movies, man. Think about it. You'd be fighting vampires with a nice samurai sword. Think about that. Think about what you missed out on.
There you go.
Yeah, but the thing with Jay, so I had to tell Jay, and I've had to tell multiple people this. My problem is I am very sarcastic. And like I don't know how to shut it off. And when I send stuff through text, like they can't see my face. And then the
Right.
other thing, like it's hilariously amusing to me, like when I'm being sarcastic to somebody and I'm messing with them and I'm talking to them like a straight face. And like eventually they start like start getting like more and more wild with what I'm saying. And eventually it gets to the point where people are like, "Oh, he's screwing with us." And I'm just
And now,
I'm just-
now assume you just
Huh?
assume everything, and then if you are being serious, then well, oh well.
Yeah. So you just have to automatically assume that I'm just like screwing with you. And then what happens is when I am being serious, yeah, like people are like, "Oh, you're being serious." I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, Rob, how did you get into shooting?
Believe it or not, when I was in high school,
No,
I used to
I think
watch.
you're messing with me.
No, I'm not. I'm being 100% serious now. So when I was in high school, I actually used to watch the Outdoor Channel every Wednesday night because that's when all the shooting TV shows would come on. I always wanted to be in this stuff since I was a little kid, and I used to watch like all the USPSA nationals on the Outdoor Channel, Shooting USA, way long ago when they used to cover it, and that was back when limited was the hot division. That's all everybody would talk about. And so I watched that forever. Once I graduated high school and got into college, I didn't have access to the Outdoor Channel. And this was before streaming and all that crap showed up. So I kind of got out of it for a little bit. And then once I graduated college, I think I bought a Glock 17 Gen 5 in early 2019. And then I bought an LWRC AR-15 like 4 months later. And then late 2019, I wanted to get more into shooting. Like I wanted to go do shooting competition stuff, but I didn't know where to start. And part of the reason for that is because I had been messed with by tactical YouTubers like Garantham and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if I'm going to get into it, like this is the place to do it. So like I bought like a Tactical Boy belt rig and all that crap. And I went to a 2-gun competition in Peacemaker, which is actually arranged. It's blacklisted by USPSA, but we can talk about that later.
Oh, wow.
I went to a 2-gun competition there, and I was awful. I was trash. And then I started getting more into it. And then Peacemaker was the only place that I knew of that offered these sorts of things. But then just for shits and giggles, I actually saw that they were running a USPSA somewhere, and I was like, I want to go try that. So I had a war belt, and I had a Glock 17 with iron sights and 17 round mags, and I went, and it was awful. I think York USPSA with Russell Fortney, so the guy who was about to be the Area 8 director, I actually went to his match, and I did awful, and I was like, nah, like I'm doing good at two gun and everything else like that. Like this sport is stupid. I'm never going to do it ever again. Like they don't know what they're talking about. And then the more I started getting in, like looking, I was just like, okay, like maybe I do need to practice and stuff like that. And then 2021, I went to a match on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and I met one of my good dudes who I'm still a friend with. And a lot of those guys like saw me there and they helped me. And then once I started getting more into it, I was like, okay, I want to get better at this. And then early 2022, I was like, okay, I'm 100% nose diving into this, like no questions asked.
Okay. And what? Go ahead, Jay.
No, I feel like if you meet people at a match and they see that you're like that you're into it, then you have all the help in the world. And so it's,
go ahead.
I mean, not everybody, but it's really cool because those are the people. Because then you meet someone who's like you, and you're like, cool. I want to hang out with this person. I want to talk to this person more. And so I don't know. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
So the dude who actually got me to come back, to your credit, like, how do I explain this? So I went, and it was actually, I think it was Bill Duda's match. He was in the same squad that I was in, and then his buddy Mike Danchek was in the squad. And then another guy that I'm still friends with named Dennis Boyle. You know who Danchek is, Dave?
Oh, yeah. I've had him on.
Oh, yeah. So he was in my squad, and he ROs me, and I did something stupid, and I finished the stage. And at this point, I still had my 17 with a Surefire light on it and my war belt and a loophole Delta point. And I think co-witness sights, because that's what Garantham told me to use.
Yes.
I say that facetiously. And I did the stage, and Mike comes walking up to me, and without even skipping a beat, he looks at me and goes, "Why the fuck did you do that retarded shit?"
That sounds like Mike. Yeah.
And I turn around, I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, that was the most retarded thing I've ever seen. Why the hell did you do that? So he starts laying into me, and I'm looking at him like, who the hell is this guy? So somebody had to come over. I think it was either Bill or Dennis came over and was like, all right, what he's trying to say is what you should come in like this on the target. I was like, oh, okay. So I kept coming back more, and then I saw him again, but he is he's very abrupt. He's very in your face, but he is the nicest dude in the world. He will give you the shirt off of his back. You just have to keep showing up.
He's loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he's a very good guy. Very nice guy.
He was willing to help me in early 2021. So eventually it got to the point where like I started asking people, and this made people laugh. Because I would try to get into matches, and I was like just getting into it. And I think I asked a match director one time, I said, can you put me in the same squad as Danchek?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, the match director said, excuse me, and then ended up sharing that text with like a whole bunch of people. Like, look what this guy said.
This guy's a knucklehead.
Yeah. But you know what? Mike was one of the people that he helped me out a lot. Like, he was one of the few people that when everybody else was kind of like, screw this loser, he's never coming back. Because I was still using a war belt then. Mike was actually like, okay, like start doing this, start doing that. Like pieces of it started coming together. So something to be said for that.
Yeah, I was shooting a match at Shadowhawk, and I was looking at one of the stages, and so was someone else, and he pointed something else, or he pointed something out that we had not even noticed. I was like, oh, damn, I didn't even see that. So, yeah, I mean, he's very, very helpful, very nice. He's just loud, and like you said, you know, kind of in your face kind of a personality. He's a very big personality, but he's a good guy.
He talks to his enemies the same way he talks to his friends.
Or his friends the same way he talks to his enemies. Yeah,
right. Exactly. Like there's no filter. So like whatever you're getting with the guy is what you're getting, which I can respect. He's actually the one. He got me sent to Carry Optics Nationals. He
say sent to jail.
No. Although with Mike, yeah.
when did you meet Hempel?
Actually, yeah, mid 2020, my first match ever.
Okay.
I was at work and it was COVID season, and my job back then, I was an engineer.
Fake news.
Huh?
Fake news.
Oh, yeah. So, well, our shit was still shut down. You couldn't do nothing. My boss was still making me come into work, which sucked. But as a result, there was nothing going on. I think this was like June. And 2 weeks before, so like I looked up, like, okay, USPSA, York USPSA, and Hempel's video came up. And I was just absolutely flabbergasted that somebody could shoot that fast. And I started watching more of his videos. I was like, holy shit, who is this guy? So I show up to that match and I'm walking along and I see him with his jersey on the back that says Hempel. And I just started talking to him, and that's how we met each other. And it was funny because at first he was kind of like off put, but then we ended up coming to the conclusion that it was because of the war belt.
Yeah.
Like, oh god.
That will do it.
Who's this guy with a thigh holster?
Yeah. I had like a multi-cam war belt with like a dump pouch and all this stuff. Because again, like
The
Garantham.
dump pouch.
Yes.
The dump pouch probably did it.
Oh, it was the dump pouch and the Safariland holster and everything else like that. And I actually will not forget this. So
The camis. Yeah, I get it.
I think that match I shot a classifier, and I forget what the hell what classifier it was, but I misread the score because it said like 85%. And then I looked it up online and they were like, oh, 85%, like that's a masterclass classifier. I didn't shoot anywhere close to that, right? I don't know what I did, but so I ended up posting on Instagram, like, I did a masterclass run on this, and he texted me and was like, take it down. No, you didn't.
You did not.
You zeroed that stage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a level 3 retention holster at the time, so it was one of those ones where you have to like hit the button to grab the gun up out of it, and I missed the button, so like I'm just yanking on this holster for like a good 2 seconds, and I was like, yeah, like even with this mess up, like I still shot masterclass on it, and like now as a master, I'm like, oh god, no, that wasn't anywhere close.
Nice.
So you made master pretty quick then. I mean, because you shot your first match like 2019, 2020.
Sure. First USPSA in 2020. I did not come back until March of 2021, and then I was goofing around most of March 2021 because I was still trying to do like the whole multi-gun thing, but that was a waste of time.
But you were a master at Carry Optics Nationals, weren't you, last year?
No, I was A class.
Okay.
I had just made A class, and the reason was because I was shooting a lot more. I had a somewhat nicer gun, and then I was dry firing a lot. And then after Carry Optics Nationals, I stopped dry firing because I'm an idiot.
Well,
how long did you?
Master class score 85%? Didn't you just shoot 86% on a classifier?
Yeah, I did. So I have been dry firing a lot more. I just shot 86% on a classifier. Are you asking how I messed it up?
No. I mean, I watched your video, and it looked like you were shooting really fast. So
that was trigger freeze. Yeah, I finally figured out how to.
Maybe I probably watched it with no sound, so I don't know.
That's fine. I mean, it's these honestly, like, this might sound silly, but like I'm at a point where I'm trying to play. I am trying to get as good, if not better, than both Luke Cow and Matt Hempel, because those two are neck and neck. I know Cow is the world champ for Production Optics Light, and he beat Max Michel, and he should be insanely proud of that, right? Because Max's day job is that's all he does. Luke has a day job, and then he practices on the side, and he beat the guy. That's one of those things of like, this might get some backlash, but like they published this whole thing, Max Michel, like I'm on the road to worlds and all that stuff, and blah, blah, blah. It was like a 3-part miniseries that SIG did, and then Luke shows up and just
This is true. This happened.
I was very happy for Luke, and it's even cooler because Luke is like a member at my home club. Yeah. So it's
Luke's
just nice.
Luke's a great shooter.
Oh my god, dude!
He's super consistent. I mean, like he he'll show up to any match, and he will be in the within 10% of the winner, if not winning it. I mean, he beat JJ a couple of years ago.
Yes, he did.
At
At Maryland State.
Maryland State. I mean, and obviously, blah blah blah. Things happen, whatever. But he will always be there to win a match if someone makes a mistake, or just win in general. And so I don't know. He's great.
Plus,
All right,
he's sorry, go ahead.
I want to pause right there for a second because Jay, I've got to get your reaction since you mentioned JJ.
Yeah.
Of him after the squib climbing back into the top 16 at nationals.
Yeah. I mean, that whole thing was, I think it was stage 11 where that happened. So that was towards the end of day 2. I think we only had 2 more stages to go. I could be wrong. And we were all just watching JJ shoot, and he was only like 3 shots into the stage, and then you just hear a puff, and everybody is just like, oh, and the range officer obviously says stop, and he did have a squib or whatever, and then everybody just walked off the stage, like all the people. He was like up later in the order, so everybody had already shot. Everybody just walked away. It was very uncomfortable for a little while.
Oh wow!
And yeah, I mean it's a bummer. I mean, when
Yeah,
no matter who you are, it's a bummer to see that happen, especially because it's not that could happen to anyone just because we don't manufacture our own primers. Like could have been a dud primer. Who knows what it is?
right.
And then almost immediately, well, I don't know, like 20 minutes later, you wouldn't have known that happened. So that was cool to see JJ just kind of refocus and just start dialing back in on what he needs to do. And then he was just quietly shooting really good stages from then on. And then he ends up coming back from whatever 120. I think that he's 0 to 120 point stage, and and got back a lot of points. Now, even if you can what if this stuff, and I didn't what if it, but someone else did. I mean, even if he finished 75% on that stage, he's third.
Wow.
Overall. And even if he wins that stage, he's still third. And so it's like,
oh wow.
So it's hard to say like here or there, like, or if he just if he shot 80% on that stage, would he have done what he did at the end? I don't know. But he shot really well in just going for it, and he got a lot of points back. It was cool.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I thought it was very impressive that he was able to I mean, look, it happened to me in 2020 at Frostproof, but I was not, and I was never in contention, or I wasn't threatening anybody. But I mean, I've been there where it's like, now what do you do? So I refocused, just like, all right, I'm going to see if I can catch the person with the most points on our squad. So that was now my only goal, and I almost did it. So I was happy with what I did, but yeah, I was just curious from that perspective of being on a super squad when it happened, and everybody who's on those squads is like, I have a chance when it starts. So to be one of those guys and have that happen is just it's got to crush your soul, at least for the first 5 minutes after.
Oh yeah, you were on the super squad this year. Congratulations, because you definitely earned that after last year.
Thank you, man.
And the year before. Well, no, you didn't go the year before, but the year before that.
Well, no, because he wasn't on the super squad last year because he was in my squad and I ain't super squad material.
Right. But what I'm saying is the
not
time
yet.
he had.
Not yet.
But you were 5th the time
2020.
before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you didn't shoot 21.
Yeah, 2020 was my first nationals, and then
Okay.
think we just had 2019 we had our first kid, as in my wife had our first kid, and then
Right.
we had our second in 2021.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I
back to back.
Yeah, why I didn't
Poor
go to
woman.
the nationals in
Oh,
2020.
that's right. You didn't go to 2021 because your wife was in labor, I think.
Well, it was like around that time, and it's not. She asked me to stay back, and I said I would.
No, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
you live in the middle of nowhere, right? She doesn't want to be there popping one out on her own. I get it. Like,
Taking care of two very young children while he's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. I'd just be afraid
Right.
of like, what's that old movie? Just be afraid of like, nah, never mind. I'm not gonna bring it up. Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
Anyway, Luke Tao is an excellent shooter. That's what we were saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how he
Luke's-
beat JJ, and that's how we got sidetracked.
I wanted to see I wanted like Hempel and Cal are my rabbits right now. Hard rabbits to catch, but those two, like if I can get anywhere close to them, I'm like, okay, what did I do differently than they did? And I'm looking at that kind of stuff. Like Cal published, I mean, just so you look at my match videos from Delmarva sectional, and then you look at Cal's, and it's absolute night and day difference. I mean, he's like watching a friggin' robot. Some people look smooth and sophisticated when they shoot. Other people like are just very snappy and fast and jerky. And then you have other people that look like robots. Like Jay, you're really smooth, right? Like when you shoot, it just looks like a gazelle prancing. Right?
I'm attempting to look like a robot though, so stand by.
I mean, it's still friggin' fast, dude. Like it looks smooth, right? I mean, it's like watching Mayweather when he boxes, like Floyd Mayweather when he boxes. Like he just looks smooth, like he looks at home, right? And then you watch another dude like Tyson, and it's a whole different story. Now, of course, I'm pulling big name boxers because I don't know the smaller ones, but everybody's got like a different way of doing things, and like Cal's method and Hempel's method in my head are very much different. Like Hempel, believe it or not, is actually really smooth. Like he just looks smooth. He doesn't look fast. He is fast. He just looks like everything's calm and collected. Nothing's amiss. Meanwhile, Cal, it looks like he's a robot who's just snapping as fast as he can from position to position.
And Matt has like another gear too, where if he is like a little bit mad or something like that, then he could like lay down some stages if he wants to.
He has. I mean, he's beaten
And
Cal
he does.
before.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things of I think he's going to end up being easily in the top 5 at some point. It's just a question of when, right? Because last year's car accident definitely put him back a little bit.
Yeah. I unfortunately was there for that episode.
Yeah, I accused Saul of being the guy who crashed him, and Saul's like, I didn't do that.
We'll go with that. It was Saul's fault. It was not.
He texted me and goes, I just got in a car crash. What? I just got in a car crash. Found out Lane Nelson felt awful about it because Lane Nelson was supposed to take Hempel's spot, but he let Hempel have it because he was like, whatever, like I'll let the Grandmaster have the spot. So it should have been Lane. It should have been Lane.
I threw my sandwich on the ground to run and help Matt. So I lost the sandwich, and Matt I still didn't help Matt. So.
You should have kept the sandwich and used
no.
it to soak up the blood in the car.
So if people no one knows what we're talking about except for people there who were there. But it was like a side by side. Actually, well, you weren't there, Rob, but it was a side by side, and it got rolled over while Matt was in it. And it hurt his arm a little bit.
Dude,
Just
no,
a
he got
little
busted
bit.
up pretty good. He got busted up pretty good. He said he couldn't move his arm. He broke a couple of fingers. I think he had like a hairline fracture on a couple of his ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
He got pretty good. He couldn't do much. I mean, he pretty much like, now of course, Matt being Matt, after like 2 months, it was like that scene from Hobbs and Shaw where he's like, Daddy's got to go back to work. And then like he took a knife and cut off his cast. started shooting again. That's Matt.
Youth, it has its advantages.
Well, rub some dip spit on it, and you're good to go.
So what are they doing differently than you right now? Are they just more efficient then? Is that what you're saying?
They
yes.
have less
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, they have less trigger freeze than you right now.
Yeah, goddamn. That's part of the P320 thing. That I'm trying to. Actually, I can't even blame the gun. It's not the gun. It's me. So like last year, I was starting to put like a bunch of pieces together and stuff like that, and I made A class. And I got to be honest with you, I don't really think I deserved to make A class last year, because there was a lot of things that were just missing that I needed to focus on. And I was kind of okay at some of that stuff. My saving grace is just I'm accurate. So because when I started off in 2-gun and 3-gun and multi-gun and everything else, those sports, you're not doing practical based shooting. So it's not about speed and accuracy. It's more so just about accuracy. And a lot of what you're doing, especially 2-gun, which is what I was more into, it's always heavily steel. So most of the targets are at like 15, 16, 17, 20, 25 further yards, and you're just shooting at pieces of steel. So I got really good at being able to put the dot on a piece of steel and just tink, 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 and transition from dot to dot. And I mean, actually, there was a falling steel match before I started shooting USPSA, and a bunch of USPSI guys came to it, and I smoked a lot of them. And the one dude was actually, I think he was a master class. And I was like, oh, well, I beat you in this, so I must be master class too. No, not even close. I just got really good at being able to do that. And then when I showed up to USPSA, my big problem is there was no auditory signal that I had hit the steel. So I spent a lot of time being like, okay, I need to take this slow to make sure I'm actually trying to hit the paper. And then a whole bunch of other dumb crap that like I had no idea of what I was doing. Like I wasn't practicing holster draw or reloads or anything else like that. So when I started doing more of it in dry fire, I had bought Steve Anderson's book, and I was messing around with that, and that was extremely helpful. But it was one of those, like, I wasn't fully committing to it 100% like I should have been. Because at the time, I was living with my girlfriend, and I was enjoying that part of my life, and everything that goes along with that. And I was working a job, and we had a dog and everything else like that. So I was trying to, I would guess more so, I just wasn't doing what I should have been doing. And then this year, funny enough, after we split, I started doing dry fire every day for 5 days a week for an hour a day. And then on top of that, Dry Fire King, shameless plug, that is amazing. That's easily worth. I try to get everybody, like, I have no incentive to sell it. Like the guy, I don't even know the guy, but $3 a month, and you get TV program stuff. It's basically like a video game. You can just sit there and point your gun at the TV, unload it, of course. And you're practicing the 3 big things that matter in USPSA, which is presenting the gun, reloads, and transitions. And me just focusing on those. Rob Epifania actually came in a little bit too, and he's the biggest tip I got from him is whenever you're looking at a target and you pull the trigger, as soon as that trigger hits the back of the wall, you need to immediately snap to the next target. That's the biggest thing I got from him. Hempel has been a big help on a lot of stuff because I started asking him some questions. He actually took me because he got tired of seeing me do really stupid stuff. At the end of 2021, he brought me up to New Jersey, and he was like, all right, we're going to fix all your dumb crap right now. So we spent about like 5 or 6 hours just practicing. And he said, like, okay, like he was messing with my gun. Like, you need to do this. You need to stop doing that. Like, you need to get like a different holster, because I had switched from a War Belt to a Safariland ELS holster, which there's nothing wrong with. But at the same time, it's like, you know, like there's a USPSA rig, like go get the USPSA rig, like stop screwing around and trying to do like the best of both worlds type of thing. He got me to switch from a Delta Point to an SRO, which, I mean, you can fight me all day long. I think the SRO is better. So he was a massive help. We probably spent like 5 or 6 hours. I drove 3 hours to go see him up in Jersey, and we probably sent like 1,500 rounds downrange in one day. But it was worth it. That, and then people started noticing, like, okay, like he's starting to put bits and pieces of it together. But then this year, funny enough, it's just like I started thinking about it more and visualizing it more and being able to try and replicate these things.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a very all over the place answer. That's how my brain works.
No, it was good.
That's okay.
You are watch out, Luke. Watch out, Matt. Because Robert's over here dry firing for an hour a day. Okay.
So Jay, before you started doing how much time do you spend dry firing each day
It's
on
like,
average?
On average, probably 30 minutes.
Really?
But when you first started, how long were you doing it?
Probably like 2 hours
Okay.
or
Oh,
more.
shit.
Probably more.
At what point did you start bringing down the time spent dry firing?
When I had children.
Okay.
That'll do it.
That's why I don't recommend kids. No
Yeah,
kidding.
but I mean, I was able, like, I mean, in the past year or so, I've been able to live fire a lot more, and so that's been big.
Yeah.
Yeah, you seem to have picked up the live fire a lot more, which is why I thought maybe your dry fire came down because you're more balanced now, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I'll still like even if I'll still dry fire every day, even if I'm live firing, and so I'm definitely keeping that up. But yeah, the live fire has made me understand just the attention that I can pay. Like, so I pay it. Everything that happens in live fire happens in dry fire, but I have to pay attention to it, and it's so easy to just let go of something, or you see something in dry fire and think like, it's not a big deal. But when I started to connect live fire and dry fire closer, I've started to notice those things, and I don't know, it's been very very helpful.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you kind of figured out what you weren't seeing or paying attention to in dry fire when you did more live fire.
Yeah, because the live fire is very obvious when something happens, because you're like, I didn't hit that piece of steel.
Right.
Why didn't what happened? And so then you see what happens in live fire, and then you notice it in dry fire, but dry fire, it's so subtle. It's just like the dot just flicks,
Right.
a little bit. And I'm like, okay. So now, I just have better awareness than I did. I had zero awareness when I was dry firing like 4 hours a day.
Okay.
I should add too that, like, much like him, I started live firing a lot more this year because most of last year I was unemployed too. Like I said, it's been a shit show for my life since 2021. But I actually have like a good supply of ammo. I was unemployed. My one buddy was a Fed. He just retired. So we started going to the range like once, twice a week, burning down 150 rounds a session. And then once that started happening, my scores just started skyrocketing. Like really noticeably quickly. So then the dry firing on top of that, the dry firing and the live firing, just a deadly combination. You have to do that. I mean, Steve Anderson in his book says you have to do this if you want to get better, and he is not lying.
Yeah.
But why do you think it was that once you started doing more live fire that your scores skyrocketed?
So the big thing is when it's like Jay says, like you're the big thing with dry firing is that I have gotten from it. Where'd he go?
Dave's run away. We can say whatever we want.
He's taking a shit. He's taking a shit. Taco Bell today. Oh my god. Oh, he's back. Hey, buddy.
He was still connected the whole time.
Oh my god, he's got his. Is that
No,
what
you
she was
can't do
going in the
that, Dave.
background? So your dog's the one who's got to take a shit. Got it. All right. So, oh damn. Oh my god. No, I'm good. I'm good. No. That's your. Anyway, started the thing with live fire and what I've noticed in dry firing. In dry firing, all you're really doing is you're practicing weapon presenting the gun, you're practicing reloads, and you're practicing transitions. And there's certain things that you can do to mimic things, but until you actually go out and do the thing, you don't know that. One of the ways that I found that out the hard way. So I got a P320 with a Cares trigger in it. And the nice thing about this trigger is I have this little setup where it's a very crisp, like you hit a wall with a P320 and it breaks, boom, there it is. So just for kicks and giggles, because I got this fancy gray gun slide, and this thing is fantastic. I got this fancy gray gun slide just for kicks and giggles. I put the gray gun shoe in my gun. So I originally had the whole gray guns kit and I put their shoe in my gun, back in my gun, just because I was like, you know what, let me screw around with it and see what I think. In dry fire, it didn't feel any different. If anything, it felt like I was faster with it. And I can explain the whole engineering principles behind it and everything. But in dry fire, it felt great. And in live fire, at targets that were 7 yards and in, I was a lot faster with it. I was like, wow, like I'm going to do this. We were getting ready for Maryland State, and I knew for a fact Maryland State was going to be all targets past 15 yards because that's how Keanu is. Keanu's the one who did 2021 Area 8. He loves those types of matches. And he shoots my local match is Thermont, so I know what he's got in store. So 2 days before, we're practicing on mini poppers at 50 yards just something ridiculous that you're only going to shoot at like one target out of the day. But if you can consistently hit those at speed, like you're having a good day. I couldn't hit shit with that trigger. It was all over the place, like left, right, up, down. And I was like, okay, this is dumb. So on the spot at the range, I put the Cares trigger back in, started smacking him right in the middle. All right, there it is. And that's just because I had been dry firing with the Cares trigger forever versus the gray guns. So you can fool yourself in dry fire, but the big thing with live fire is until the gun actually is going off in your hand and doing what it should be doing, you're never going to get the same thing replicated. I mean, look at trigger freeze, right? So like trigger freeze, that classifier, funny enough, I had actually practiced it a couple of weeks before with one of my buddies. This guy that I know, Ed Kelly, he just retired as a Fed. He wants to do more USPSA. So we've been going up to York and practicing a lot. And I've been helping him to get better and stuff like that, showing him all the crap that I figured out, right? And we were practicing that classifier. And until you get used to being able to walk on the targets that you need to walk on at speed, like you're not going to be able to do that. So it's just one of those, like you have to dry fire to know that, oh yeah, I can go this fast. Like I literally can go at the speed of sight.
Now, we should say also that name of that classifier is like 8x3 trigger freeze or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's 21-01.
Yeah. So it's the name. It's in the name of the classifier.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You have to live fire. And I mean, you don't have to do much, right? So like we structure it. I don't know. Jay probably does better than me. But I do 50 rounds of doubles drill. And that's just because I tried it after watching one of Steger's things. See what happens with this. And then 100 rounds are just used for 50 rounds are used for whatever I need them for. So like this past time we practiced weak hand, strong hand shooting. So like passing to the weak hand, passing to the strong hand, reload, strong hand, reload, weak hand. And then another 50 rounds you're just using for like small drills, like the accelerator drill or a transitions drill or something like that. And there's so much shit on YouTube. Anybody, like, I'm going to pimp out somebody else's channel here for a second. Alpha Charlie Production. That channel is phenomenal. You should be following that if you give any sort of care about practical shooting insights. Or not insights, sorry. Not that guy. Practical shooting. Alpha Charlie Production, I think that guy's from Norway, but he literally just scours the internet and posts extremely helpful stuff about practical shooting and posts it on his YouTube. Steger's on there, everybody, like Rakaza, any little thing that you can think about, that just little teeny tiny tips and tricks, that's the channel to follow.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Just in live fire, the thing that we're teaching ourselves is, or I guess the thing we cannot replicate in dry fire is how much we need to push the gun back down in recoil. And even the words "push the gun back down" it's too much. And so, but you have to live fire to then understand that, and then when you're dry training, it's just about keeping the grip consistent the entire time so that you're not influencing it. And then you go in live fire again, and you're like, oh, so then there's a separation between, okay, the gun's loaded, and now I'm amped up because it's loaded and it's going to go off. And so it's just separate. It's like, I mean, training is training. And so it's just training that in live fire and then going and training in dry fire, and just both of them are just paying attention and getting used to it. So I think I feel like when you started to live fire more, you gained a lot more confidence in just shooting a match. And so you probably just, that was a huge chunk of it, I bet. And obviously you can go really far in dry fire. I know like Joey Sauerland has shot not very many live rounds, but if you pay attention to the live rounds that you shoot, then you can get the most out of your dry fire, and then you don't have to shoot that much. But you have to pay attention.
To his credit, I mean, yeah, everything. So like this, I mostly dry fire with my TV because I'm lazy. I'm always trying to figure out the most efficient way to do something. So there's a YouTube channel, and I made my own playlist, and I can share it if anybody wants to use it. It's all this. There's a guy from Norway. He shoots a lot of IPSC. He posts some of the stuff is like Dry Fire King. Dry Fire King's better. But this guy from Norway, it's called like IPSC 1 or something like that, but it's all free. And he posts a picture of a target on his TV, and he tells you, make ready. Are you ready? Stand by. And before that, he'll tell you what the drill is. So like that particular drill, it was a 0.8 holster draw. Get your gun out of the holster, get the dot up on the target in under 0.8 seconds. And then after, it goes beep, beep. So if you've done it in that amount of time, if you're getting used to going at that speed, you're doing it correctly. Well, at matches, I'd be getting like a 1.25, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 holster draw to live round shoot. Why am I so slow? Just like Jay says, it's because I'm like, oh God, I got to be more careful now because now the gun's loaded. When in all reality, I'm not pulling the trigger at all in any sort of crazy way when I'm doing those 0.8 holster draws in dry fire. It's just, I guess we're just being extra cautious for no reason.
Yeah.
And you got to get the confidence in. That's what it's about.
Yep.
I noticed that when I live fire more, I have less anticipation shooting in matches. When I don't, and it's been a while, that's where I find that that first couple of stages is me, like you were saying, becoming accustomed to the recoil again.
Mm-hmm.
And not anticipating and doing weirdness, that whole, let me move it.
Yeah, just extra clamping on.
Yeah,
it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been there before, where you go show up and you shoot the first couple shots. You're like, well, there's recoil, cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. It's so interesting. It's because there's not a direct connection. There's so many sports that like there's not something super similar to dry fire, because usually when you practice the sport, you're practicing the sport.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, that's why this is pretty interesting. It's pretty fun because you can learn a lot. And then I think the ideal state to be in would just be that training is training, whatever form it is. But you have to be then aware of what you're doing so that you can train.
I hear you.
I mean, I hate to quote Lucas Botkin because it's Lucas Botkin.
It's okay.
But yeah. Anyway, he said a while ago, the average person will go out and dump, assuming you can afford it, the average person will go out and dump 1,000 rounds on the range, and they won't understand why they don't get better. And then Steve Anderson's book, he's saying just go out and shoot 150 rounds. And if you're doing it correctly, you can be out there for 2 hours, assuming that you're doing everything correctly with just 150 rounds. Like assuming like, so my buddy Ed, one of his biggest things that I've been trying to get him used to doing is Ed has a fantastic grip. Ed's really good shooter. Like his doubles drills at 25 yards are sick. He can hit 2 shots like damn near close to the A as fast as possible at 25 yards. So he can shoot really fast. His splits are good. We're getting his transitions there. Now the last thing left is his footwork. And I'm just telling him like, hey, we're going to do a short stage where it's just left to right. It's a fixed time stage, kind of like at Nationals, that one that you guys just had. So when you step whatever way you're going to step, I need you to do it fast. And I was like a football coach with him. I was just standing behind him. And if I thought he was moving too slow, I would just tell him to stop, unload the gun, and we're going to start again. I told him like, hey, when you hit the level of speed that I want you to hit, like walking fast, running, whatever you need to do, I'm going to let you go through it. But until then, I'm just going to yell stop. And most people aren't used to that. You have to be able to do that kind of stuff. And that's where the live fire comes in, because he was only getting off like 2-3 rounds at the most before I would be behind him yelling, stop, go back. Right. And then when he finally did it, okay, like that was like 10-12 rounds. Right.
Yeah.
Reloads, you don't need to dump 16 rounds before you do a reload, right? You do not have to set up a whole stage to do a reload. You can just put 4 shots down range and boom, go off. Like you can do one. You can do the Tack Boy Timmy stuff of just like, bang, bang. Like, I don't think that's helpful. I think you should do 2 just for shits and giggles, but that's just my opinion.
Right. The 1 reload 1.
Yeah.
1
I
reload
gotcha.
1.
1 reload 1, baby. I had a buddy. Funny, I had another buddy who was like, well, this is what I do on the range. And then he would run the gun to slide lock. I'm like, why? He's like, to train the gun, running the gun to slide lock. Are you ever going to do that in a USPSA match? I don't know. Okay.
More than likely not. There are exceptions, but more than likely not.
I've done it.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a classifier that's 24 rounds, and how many people are like 23 plus 1, they're going to run it to slide lock. So,
Yeah, I actually did that. I ballsy as shit with trigger freeze. I did that. That was the first time I've done that, because normally I reloaded. I said, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to do it with 24 and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it helps on that stage. I mean, if you shoot that in the most kind of efficient order, it does not leave you time to do a reload, because you're basically making a transition directly to the next target.
Yeah.
right. If you have to shoot a makeup, then somewhere you've got to find a spot.
Yeah, you need.
Yeah.
You need. I'll shill a product now. You need a Rune Tactical Follower, Spring and Follower.
I get
+1, but you have to do some other modifications to it.
right. The only thing is, I saw Isaac's and I DM'd him. I'm like, is it me or does that follower look chewed up? And he goes, well, it's 3D printed, but it seems to be working for people. So
Are you
that's the only
sponsored by
thing.
Rune J?
Not me.
Yes.
Is he a friend of yours?
Yeah, he's my friend. He's actually he's cool. He's really cool.
Okay.
They're 3D printed, but what I've been doing is making the follower even thinner, which again,
Wow.
kind of crazy. But sanding the follower even further down. But yeah, they're rough when they're 3D printed, but it doesn't get hung up on anything. But so the follower gets thinner, and then I'll clip a half coil off the spring, and then I'll remove material from the bottom of the base pad.
My God, Jay.
So, and I've been experimenting with it, and actually, he's got newer followers coming out that are. I'm just speaking for the PDP, because the profile, he changed it and made it fit the tube even better, and so I'm still messing with stuff. But yeah, I think we're gonna get with Henning, and Henning is gonna start to make pads, specific pads that are thinner at the bottom.
Okay.
because you need just a little bit more. Like 24 is so tight that you just need this little bit more to make it fit in the mag.
Just one more mint, sir.
Just
You ever
tiny bit.
see that movie? He
Yeah.
eats the mint and he explodes.
You guys are crazy. After messing around with my P320, I cannot do any more modifications. I'm done. I'm done.
But you know what, Jay? This just shows the difference when, I am not top 10 in the country trying to win a national championship.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
the only difference, you just have to get Rune Tactical followers and then modify them. But I mean,
And then I can go for a national championship.
so I think that just on that classifier, the 8x3 trigger freeze or whatever it's called, it's really nice to have a makeup on that classifier if you need a makeup. And it does
would
not.
agree with that.
Then a makeup does not cost you a reload, and it's probably a standing reload depending on where the makeup is.
You got one makeup though.
You have one makeup, yeah, but that's better than no makeups.
What if I'm
And that's
3BL,
really
am I
like
scared about a reload?
that. So that stage is like the only stage that it's rare that you actually need 24 rounds because the hit factor is so high on that stage that time matters so much. I mean, it's like a 15 plus hit factor stage, that time matters so much that if you have an equipment advantage, it is an advantage.
You were not wrong. There are certain things like that they make all the difference in the world. Those types of things. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah. I was gonna say my P320 was kind of like that. That's why I went with the gray gun slide. There's like just little significant differences there that make it worth it. 100% worth it. But that's a different story for a different day.
So what are your goals, Rob?
Um,
Other
In
than
life?
catching Hempel and Cow? Shooting.
life and overall, or
Life
just
goals.
shooting?
Tell us your life goals. Also, tell us
Does
about.
that have to do with Chipotle?
The Chipotle. Don't listen to that guy. That guy is. It's my own fault because that guy is like, he hates cilantro, and I was at a party with him one time and I bought a stalk of cilantro and I chased him around the house with it. So like anything that he says, it's my own fault.
This conversation's making a bunch of left turns here.
Yeah. My goals. I don't think I've ever said this to many people before, and I hesitate to say it publicly, but screw it, I'll say it. One day you will see me first place at a nationals. You will see me up there. One day you will see me sponsored with a gun company. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but you will see me doing that. That's been my goal since I was a kid. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. Definitely took a lot of different angles and turns to get there. And I'm still slowly figuring out things along the way, and other stuff's coming up in life that I'm trying to do. But like, I mean, I'm going back to grad school. I did this for USPSA. I did this so I could afford more stuff because I was like, hey, engineers with masters in business administration typically make this amount of money. I would like a $30,000 pay raise. And what do I have to do to get that? I just have to go back to grad school, and that pays for more ammo and everything else on top of that. And on top of that, like, I just want the shooting sports to grow into something, not even for personal gain. I can kind of understand why they're not as popular as they are based upon some people's actions. But I really want to see it grow because this is truly an American sport. Like, baseball is definitely American. Football is definitely American. Shooting is like the ultimate American sport. I mean, my God, like, we're literally born from people who shot. Like, that's how this country got founded, and I want to see it stay that way. Gun culture is huge in this country, and it's only gotten huger after COVID, and I'd like to see it keep progressing that way, especially too, like, the impact of everybody suddenly getting into firearms and everything else. Like, now, like, the opportunities in the market is incredible for people who want to get more into the industry, because there's so many people that want to learn about it now. People that used to not care before suddenly care now, because COVID just shattered everybody's fragile little realities. That, all the police or the military will help us. Minnesota, Portland, nah, right?
Mhm.
But then on top of that, like
Seattle.
technology, manufacturing, and everything, my God, it's progressed to a point now where, I mean, like even this, I would argue that this gun, right, has
You just flagged yourself.
Oh no, it was
That's
over. It was over. It was safe.
right.
I'm messing with you, man.
I would argue that this gun is just as competitive as a 2011. Like I could rock this with a magwell and limited optics and not be at a significant disadvantage. Right. So that's where we're at. I don't know. It's something I've been passionate about since I was a kid, and I just want to progress with it and I want to see it grow. And those are my life goals.
Okay. What about a world shoot? Any desire to do that?
Yeah, I would like to do that. That's just an issue of time and money right now. That's definitely that's definitely plays into the whole like you will see me on the first place podium and that sort of stuff. It's just time and money. I just started working again 4 weeks ago, so, and I want to get my MBA done first. I'm paying $20,000. I want my 4.0 GPA. So those are the more important things right now. This year I took it. I mean, there's nothing that says I can't practice on the side, right? Like as much as I hate to say it, like nobody really starts paying attention to you until you're a GM, and then even then, like they want to see you hitting GM scores when you go to major matches and stuff like that, right? Like paper GMs, like a GM who comes in like 100th place at nationals, right? The people who get the attention are people like Jay, a GM who does well.
Well, so
So-
this year's nationals, 100th place. What percentage was that, Dave? Do you know off the top?
No, right off the top of my head, I don't recall.
Probably still 80%, right? I get what you're saying though, Rob.
You understand? Yeah, it's not. I'm not snubbing anybody because I came at 160th place at the 2022 nationals, right? So I totally shit the bed, right? So like I'm not poo-pooing on anybody. Like it's still a phenomenal amount of work to get there. It's just again, like, I mean, I think I heard a rumor apparently that when Cal won the World Shoot, apparently Aimpoint just gave him like a bag of red dot optics. Like, here you go, have these. Like, see what you think of them. Right? Like, I don't know if Aimpoint's doing that for the guy who came in 100th place at Worlds.
Yeah.
Luke did get with Aimpoint at SHOT Show. They were talking to him and stuff, and now he's shooting with the Aimpoint, right? Yeah, he has the dot.
So he's got P2s on all his
Closed.
Walthers.
Closed emitter. Kind of
Now,
cool.
here's something interesting. Number 99 was a G.
Yeah.
And that was Casey Ryan, and he was 77.78%.
Casey,
Okay,
you did
77%.
phenomenal. I love you, and you did a good job, buddy.
And now we know who you are.
Don't think I'm
And
shitting on you. I'm just a lowly M.
And 100th was B class Skylar Davis.
Awesome. Good job, Skylar.
Yeah, good job, Skylar.
Wherever you
As
are.
a matter of fact, you know what? Good for him. He won B class.
Oh, he did.
He did.
How much
Yep.
by?
Now the real
let-
the real money getter at nationals is the Bill Drill Challenge. So maybe we should all train for that.
He won B class by 50 points. Number 128 was second B.
Oh wow.
Who won the Bill Drill this year? Was that Billy?
Yeah,
Yep.
Billy Barton.
Same score as Isaac had last year.
Every time that
And-
dude's beard gets longer, his splits get faster. Have you noticed that?
It happens. It does happen. Maybe I should try that. So and Billy Barton ended up. Well, he had a clean 123 in the qualifying, but then when he went up against Isaac, he had the same. He had 1 alpha in the upper A zone and then 5 in the lower A zone.
Oh,
And,
wow.
And that
was
was what Isaac had last year, and that's
Yep.
off the draw. And it was we were talking about this on different times, but the first shot went in the upper A zone, and then the next 5 were in the lower.
What do you do that in?
1.23. Oh wait, I think the qualifying run that he put down was a 1.23, and then in the against Isaac, I think he did a 127.
Damn.
Yeah.
That dude, I remember when I did my first Area 6, that guy splits were insane. Like, I don't know how I don't know how the hell he sees the dot that fast. That's out of this world. And I mean, he'll do that
Yeah.
at like 15 yards.
Mhm.
Like, he doesn't care. It's just like, pop.
His presentation. I mean, he must have done it tens of thousands of times to just be that automatic. You know.
More than likely. I know he's a tactical guy and he likes to train the tactical stuff. So I wonder how much he did do. I might ask him, how much did you do the build drill this year?
I think he trained it a bit. I mean, I'm speaking for him, but I think he trained it a decent amount.
I'd have to reach out and ask him.
But he's got like a cold 1.6 all the time, and then pretty easy 1.4s.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So let me
good
ask-
for him. That's awesome.
do you
So
mind
you
if I
get-
ask? Sorry,
Well,
go ahead.
no,
Go ahead.
so at this match, and I think they're going to do it at nationals too. Winner of the Bill Drill Challenge got $3,000 from Cole, and then you get the prize money from the entries, which I think in this case was like $1,200.
Damn.
And then you
That's
get a
not
whole
bad.
bunch of other prizes. So you get like, I don't know, $4,500 worth of stuff.
Wow.
And then the winner of nationals gets you get like a SIG 320 off the prize table. That's it.
Yeah, but I feel like there's
Christian got
other-
something he didn't need.
I feel like there's other things that come in place after that. Like, it might not be immediate, but I feel like there's a bunch of people that you
it's-
just won nationals. Would you like to go to Disneyland?
yeah, like no, I will not be training bill drills at all. Maybe a little bit, but I'd rather win nationals than the bill drill challenge. But
I
but
hear you.
congratulations,
$5,000 for you. You have a blueberry farm.
Wait, what's that?
What do you need $5,000 for? You have a blueberry farm.
Yeah.
What was
I'm
the
just
question
saying.
you were going to ask earlier, Rob?
So originally, we had talked about nationals. The reason that we had started talking initially was because you picked up my comment. I was like, I have a legit plan for nationals because of how big it's getting. And if you don't mind, I don't know, like how, if you want to still talk about that, do you want to still talk about that?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, I didn't even try to get in this year, right? But because I'm in grad school and I want to focus on getting my 4.0 and all that stuff. But I actually talked to a lot of people. Matt Chua was one of them. He's a high-level GM.
Yeah.
He might think he's not, but he is. He's a high-level GM. And I talked to Pat Callahan, who just made GM not too long ago. Solid shooter, too. Both those guys did not get into nationals. And these are dudes who, like, this sport, like, revolves around their life, right? Especially Pat's. Like, he makes his living teaching people how to shoot. So when they didn't get in, it's like, what the hell? So you started looking more, and Chu and I ended up having a conversation. Apparently, like, you know, it's getting so popular, more and more sponsor slots and everything else like that. So by the time I think by the time it opened up to the general public, like not even if you had like a slot or something from last year, I think there was like 100 slots left open. That was it.
I think so.
Which, I mean, for a national level match, that shit's going to fill up in like 2 seconds. I might
And crash the internet.
Yeah. I didn't even try, so I didn't even know that was a thing. But it's getting so popular, and I mean, Phil Strader, even at 2022, was like, we knew we had something really special when we made this, and this has become the most popular nationals. Like, okay, yeah, like it is. And USPSA BOD, in my opinion, needs to recognize that and understand that this match, you need to expand it. It's gotten too big for that. It's gotten too big for just a 3-day weekend. And realistically, it's more than that. And we're at a point now where, okay, you got 500 slots and 100 of them are filling up in however many seconds. I think there was actually 485 people at the match.
Well, there were 500, and then there was some DQs and stuff like that. But 500 shot the match.
Yeah,
There were 511 registered, 11 did not show up, and then there were like 15 or 16 DQs. So
Who didn't show up? Can we look at those people? Can we publicly shame them for not showing up?
Yes, we can.
Actually, there were 18 DQs, so 481 finished.
The DQs are DQs. I mean, that was my buddy DQ'd, and I felt horrible for him because this was his first nationals. He knew what he did, though. He knew what he did, and he was mature and he was an adult about it. And then he went and got Dairy Queen.
We got Dairy Queen, but not because we DQ'd. We just wanted to get an ice cream cake and then eat it at the
and go ahead.
No, you.
Well, what I was going to say, I forgot the other thing was there were some people who did not finish the match, too. So there were some more on top of that. So you end up getting down to like, we'll say 475 roughly that actually completed the match. But
there were still 11 people who did not show up.
That is correct. And if I remember correctly, Brian Conley had Jake Martins on his podcast. And I think he said there were 725 or something like that were actually tried to get into the match. That's how many people were on the wait list. Over 200.
Shit.
Yeah.
725 just on the wait list?
I think it might have been 200, but
okay.
Which so
on the wait list.
725 total. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there were still 200 some odd people on the wait list.
Yep.
So, and the other matches, Iron Sights is still not full.
Nope. So what do you think, Rob? I mean, is it a 5-day match or is it a 4-day match?
It's a week long.
Okay.
And the reason I say this is because realistically, if you have 725 people, if you have those people that actually wanted to go and were willing to be put on the wait list, because you can't even account for the fact that there was a lot more people out there going, oh, well, I'm going to be on the wait list, so I might as well not even sign up. The people who were on the wait list were the people that, sometimes people throw in $1 at the poker table. Sometimes people don't. You saw who those people were. They need to split this up more so. And if they want to, this part goes into, they need to treat it like a bigger sport than it is. It's not a 3-day weekend anymore. It's not a 3-day event. It is a huge event. And considering the amount of people that they get to come out, like 2022, I know Gray Guns was there. Those guys took time out of their schedules to come by and do what they needed to do. Henning was there. Leif was there. Brian was there. Beretta was there. And if you make it a bigger event, more companies will come. Because, they can always write tax write-offs and all that crap. And, they have Beretta's got whole marketing division and everything set up. And I imagine there are other companies that would want to show up and do their thing. It needs to be a week-long event. And the reason I say that is this, twofold. One, the staff. Most of your staff that are there are in positions where they can take any amount of time off from work no matter what, or they're retired. So if you're worried about getting people to staff the match, I don't think that's an issue. Now, I will say this. It might be an issue trying to get people to shoot a match and then staff 6 days worth of events. 6 days worth of USPSA is a lot of USPSA. I don't know how you would handle that on that front. I guess it would be up to a question of, are you willing to staff a match for 3 days? If somebody wants to do that and they think they can do that, like by all means. But the other side of it is when you set it up for 6 days, so you have your staff day, and then you have the 3 days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are your first 500 competitors. And you run it the same way that they're running it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're just doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You have your next 500 competitors Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then everybody gets Sunday to go home. It's perfect. And Chick-fil-A is not closed. Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday. Chick-fil-A is not closed, however, on Saturday when you're finishing shooting.
So I hadn't heard anybody bring that up before. And so that's kind of interesting to just, so you keep it with, maybe it's 20 stages or something like that, but you run the first 500 through, then you run the next 500 through.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the way that it's set up, like on the small scale. It's just the fact that they're treating it still like it's small scale. It's not. This is the most popular division by far. I mean, Christ alive, at Maryland State, 245 competitors, 136 of them were in carry optics.
Yeah.
Over half the match was in one division. And it's only going to get more popular. Limited optics, it's a matter of conjecture as to whether it's going to take off or not. But even if it does, right? So, like, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say there were only 725 people who will sign up. Limited optics does take off, and you want to test the waters, just call it the optics match. Optics Nationals, carry optics, limited optics at the same place, right? And then assuming that some people show up for limited optics, it's your dog. I don't really have that much experience with a lot of limited optics guys, and how serious they would be to go to different events and stuff like that, especially a national level match. But if you want to test the waters with it, I mean, that would be the place to do it. Just say like, hey, we've got 750 slots open for carry optics, and we've got 250 open for limited optics. Or you just let people sign up under whatever they want. I guarantee you, if you do that, carry optics will still take the cake.
Oh yeah,
all day long.
And so
you're not talking all divisions. You're only talking carry optics still.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I hate to say this. I might get some flack for this. Anything with iron sights is dead. Single stack is dying. Production's dying. Limited is on its way out because of limited optics. I mean, I even know limited shooters who are saying that. It's getting to a point where, I mean, again, so at Maryland State, 136 were in carry optics. I think 30 were in open, probably more than that. But I can tell you this, there were only 11 in production. There were only 3 in single stack. And there was 18 in limited, I'm pretty sure. It's on its way out. And I think it's just a sign of the times. Like, you know, people just, you know, I partially blame Garantham because the newer generation is like, hey, you got to go get on your dot on your pistol and then you'll be more tactical. And then they're going to be like me. And then you run out of like, okay, how do I prove that I'm more tactical? Like, how do I go farther with this? Well, you can't unless you're willing to pay $300 for classes and then go be the better room clear and then go deal with all that nonsense. But USPSA, you can get better and it reflects. And better yet, you can get something back from it, like friends.
Do you guys see the question on the screen?
Yeah. I think that every section does it differently.
I think so too.
And that's where it gets confusing because there's not like a clear set of rules for the section. And so then it just comes down to like, do you know the section coordinator? Are you friends with them?
Well, and last year, the section I'm in, there were extras. So he just put out a statement on the Facebook page and said, hey, I have these extra slots. Does anybody want them? So I was like, yes, I do. I want one. So I don't have to wait for general scheduling, you know, go in registration. So yeah. I was surprised. I mean, that wasn't going to be the case this year because he didn't make any announcements. He had extra slots.
That's the only reason I got into 2022 was just because originally I got a sponsorship slot that was not meant for me at all. It was supposed to be for somebody else and it was given to me. And that's the only reason I got in. Right. So like if I didn't get that, I basically would have been probably SOL again.
Yeah. You know, but I've been told by people that like this year, let's say that I didn't have to have my meniscus repaired. So I'm just waiting for a spot. I was told by people who've been to several that I should just go take my stuff. They said, you're going to have people who don't show last minute and they're going to have open spots.
Yeah, you would have been
exactly what I was told. Yeah, I would have been in.
Ballsy.
Yeah, I agree. It is ballsy. My backup would have been, all right, I'd have just covered it from the podcast point of view. But I mean, I couldn't even get a media badge and I put in for one.
Yeah, that's weird.
Are you serious?
Yep, dead serious. Like no response, no answer, just nothing.
That's something else that needs to change too, because I know Bill Duda told me like some of the way that they handle stuff, and I don't think the BOD is responsible for this. I think there's certain people within the organization that are responsible for this. But Bill Duda couldn't even get in to. I was like, why weren't you there? And he's like, I'm not big enough for that. What? Like, his go fast don't suck. Like, he's a major staple of the sport. Like, why is he not big enough to be at Carry Optics Nationals?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because he's not on the list. It's a big club, and we ain't in it. But that's a different story.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to, and I'm not saying this to run anybody down. I'm just saying it was hard to get into nationals. It doesn't matter what avenue you take.
Yeah. So I mean, it brings up an interesting thing where how do you fit the people that want to shoot carry optics in or whatever division that is the biggest, which that might morph in the future, but how do you get all those people to shoot one nationals? And I don't know, I think splitting it up in that way is kind of cool, but at the same time I think that, you know, kind of deleting other divisions because you don't have to have them because they can't even fill up a nationals anyway, I don't think that's a bad idea.
I do.
So, like, you don't think USPSA should be like 2 divisions?
No,
irons, optics.
I think it should be.
No, there's no irons in USPSA anymore.
I actually think it should be 3 divisions. But the difference is, like, okay, you have 3 divisions, but those divisions still get a nationals. Like what they're doing with this year with Iron Sights Nationals. Yes, they're still having a problem filling up slots, but the only time you should ever not allow it to happen, and I understand that they have a metric set up, but if they're going to spend a certain amount of money and they're not going to make any money off of it, then you don't have it. It's just that simple. Yeah. I know they're doing it based upon, like, if, you know, production at local matches doesn't get a certain amount of participants, then we won't hold a nationals. I don't think that's the best way to do it, but also at the same time, it might be a good indicator of whether or not they're going to be willing to spend the money. Because if they're going to spend money and put all this crap together and not get anything back out of it, I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, and you do have to select people for a World Shoot team, and a nationals is the best way to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jay. I think the 3 divisions, one is Iron Sights, so Iron Sights across the board. Like, and it just is what it is. And whatever you want to use, major, minor, like, that's all still in play because the guns are so similar anyway that it doesn't really matter. The only difference is now limited gets capped down to 10. So, like, limited 10 is just the thing. Like, it is what it is. Like, that's the game. You still want to be with Iron Sights. That's the game you chose. Sorry, have a nice day. PCC and Open, same division. Those two are always competing against each other anyway. A PCC is basically just an open gun with a stock, right? So they get a huge advantage. The only disadvantage that they get is the fact that they have to use that stock in somewhat tight places, as opposed to the open gun doesn't have to do that. But an open gun doesn't need a stock because it weighs 30 pounds. And it gets major power factor scoring. And then you have optics. So if limited optics sticks around, cool. You know, I think it's matter of conjecture on what you want to do with the rules of that. But if you just have optics as a division, that takes care of a lot of it. So boom, now you have 3 divisions.
You could do optics minor and optics major.
No. No. Let's not go too crazy here, Dave. Let's do this. I only reason some of that
drugs
stuff
are good.
Yeah, I just don't want to see people with, like, Desert Eagles with dots on top showing up, which isn't going to happen anyway. But
that
still.
poor steel. Goodness. But I hit it. There's a hole right there.
The other thing, too, if they're worried about money, I've said this before, like, I understand that they have, like, different tier packages and stuff like that for sponsors. But considering that this is a game and we can literally make up the rules as we go, I don't see a reason to why you can't have 2 sponsors on the stage, right? And, like, work the money in a different way so that you get something out of it. Things can be restructured. It's just, it comes down to they need to make the match a week long. It needs to be. And then we're done with this nonsense of people trying to take off from a Wednesday to a Wednesday. It's like, no, you just take off Monday through Friday. That way everybody gets both weekends off. You don't just get the weekend off, and then you're using 4 days in the middle, and then you're leaving work on a Tuesday, and then you're coming back into work on a Wednesday. The whole thing's just stupid. It needs to be, like, done on a Friday, hop in a car and a plane, you go, you're off all that next week. For the majority of us that are competing, most of us still have day jobs. The staff, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but seriously, Jay, like, didn't you notice in 2022, like most of those dudes were, if they weren't retired, they were in a position where they could have staffed the match.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage is, but I think there's a lot of people who are retired who are staffing for sure.
Or self-employed, because there were
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, I mean, Russell's a perfect example, right? Like Russell has the kind of job where he can pretty much just do what he wants. That dude still works full time. He can do what he wants, and it's part of it is because he's been doing it forever, but the other part of it is just because that's the way the job is set up, and so that's why he's able to volunteer as much time as he can, and he does, and we're all grateful for it. But considering that, like, that's the range master, so then all your other subordinates under the range master, like most of them were in the same position. So that's just my personal opinion on it. I think it really does need to be a whole week long, and then it becomes a whole lot easier for everybody else.
And that changes it into a really special event. That's something that, I don't know, people. I mean, obviously people are talking about it. I mean, the main thing why this is so cool is because there's so many top shooters there at the match. So that's the number one thing. But then if you have it where you have, where it's kind of like a yearly world shoot where you have that kind of hype around it, then that becomes really cool.
And I kind of feel that's how I would like to see it. My opinion would be you almost have like your opening ceremony on Sunday. Monday through Friday is your match with, you shoot 4 of those days, have a day off. So you do it like a world shoot format.
Yeah.
So you can get a lot more shooters in. And then you finish shooting Friday afternoon, and Saturday would be your shoot off and your big closing ceremony, award ceremony that afternoon.
Yeah.
And evening.
That
People
is another.
can fly out Saturday night or Sunday.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because the award ceremony at 2022 felt rushed as crap. It did. I don't care what anybody says. It felt rushed.
That was was that the Fox Sports Stadium?
Maybe Jay knows. It was at Talladega.
Yeah, it was the Fox Sports thing. I know what you're talking about.
But it felt rushed.
Okay.
I mean, it was pretty much like, like, all right, we got to get out of here at a certain time, so everybody just leave. Right? I mean, they ran out of food. I know they did that last year too, but that's one of those things where it's like, damn, dude, really a national level match and you run out of food? Like, that's just.
And I think too, have like at a world shoot, you have the podium. You have people stand on the podium.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen at USPSA Nationals. I mean, if that picture gets taken, it's just taken from just a sense. But you actually, like, you make boxes that are different heights, and then you put the people on the boxes. Like,
it's not hard to draw a 1, 2, and a 3.
But I don't know. I mean, I think that just make it a really, really special thing. I don't know. And it already is because of the people showing up there, and so that's why I'm I don't know.
The amount of time that I have already put into this, being in this sport as short as I have, and then seeing how much other people put their time into it, and then the amount of time I stayed awake for 24 hours twice in 1 week for 2022 Carry Optics Nationals, and they ran out of food. Not cool.
Yeah, they almost made it to the end.
Yeah, it needs to be bigger because of stuff like that. Like, I'm willing to get in a car and literally drive 1,400 miles one way. It needs to be bigger.
Rob, I want to add this because the year that Jay didn't go, we ran out of food as well. But it was worse that year. But here's what I'm going to say. Part of the problem was, like, that year people were getting their own food. And I literally saw people in front of me taking plates away from there that could have fed 3 or 4 people. Literally that much food on there. So sometimes it's our own fault, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, we need to police ourselves too.
I attempted at this year's Nationals to serve myself mashed potatoes, and my hand was swatted. Not literally. You can't do that.
Oh, they changed it up. They served you.
They served us. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I felt really bad too. I was like, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to serve myself the mashed potatoes.
They probably
Portion
wanted to
size
give you a
matters.
double serving because you look like a growing boy. You need calories, Jay. You worry me sometimes. It's like, eat a
All
sandwich,
those ice baths.
ice baths, and he's got the amount of blueberries he eats. Jesus Christ, he probably shits it all out.
Yeah, man,
Blueberries
those
are-
antioxidants are good for you. He's got to live to be 200.
Yeah, I prefer the Taco Bell method, but that's just me.
Good.
Yeah, that's my thing with it. It just needs to be bigger, and I don't think it's unreasonable to ask this stuff. I know supposedly this is Jake Martin's last year, but they do need to treat it like a big event where people are walking out. It's like we've said this before, but it's the little details that matter. It is the little details.
It's just you're right. It's just little stuff. I mean, you have a large handful of people who are doing podcasts like this or recording stuff like this, and we've been talking for almost 2 hours because we love this sport so much, and we see that it's like this is the place where people go who want to get better at shooting, and so you want to have that event around it, and there's a lot of people who care a lot about it, and so I mean that's I don't know, it's cool that it happened, but I think there are tiny details that would make it way better, which again I think I should also say that the priority should always be that the stages are good and that the matches run with like competitive equity as much as possible.
Yeah,
and because then people will come back if the stages are good. Like the people that matter will come back if the stages are good.
dude, the stages don't even need to be that good. If it just shows that you care into like the sport, like I don't. I shot a match.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. People will be there if the stages are bad. If everybody is shooting the match, like if the competition is good and the stages are bad, people will show.
I shot a match last year. I shot a major match last year where the stages were okay. But you know what? The dude who put them together, he worked his ass off, and he made it a match that you would actually like. You know what? The stages were, but I would happily go back and shoot that in a heartbeat because of all the little details. Meanwhile, you go to another match, yeah, the stages were great, but they didn't repost the targets, and there's no cover, and there's no water, and there's no porta potties, and where the hell am I going? And nobody else knows either.
Yeah, it's got to be a whole event, and if the stages do test, like all the skills should be tested at a match. But I can see that too. Like you have to have everything run well.
Yeah, especially if I'm going to be driving like 3-4 hours. If I'm taking time off work, spending the amount of money that I am, and I show up and you can't even pay attention to the small details, no thank you. Goodbye. That's what it comes down to for me. Because the people who care, those are the people, that's where the small details matter. Those are the people who care. The people who don't care, good luck, man.
Yeah, and I also agree with Jay in that, the unique thing about this sport and nationals is you can be shoot, what was his name now? Skylar, is that what I said? Number 100?
Yeah, Skylar Valsey or something, the B class.
Skylar Davis.
Skylar
You can be
Davis.
Skylar Davis and shoot the same match that Christian, Nils, Jacob, Jay, all these other guys are shooting, these top level guys, and you can see head to head where you place against the best in the country. And I think that's why Carry Optics was such a big draw. That's why Christian was there. He's like, look, you have Max, you have Nils, you have JJ, you have every Carry Optics national champion there, and every other. I mean, I haven't gone in and totaled it up, but I've been curious. How many guys are there who have national championships, and how many national championships were represented at that match? You're not going to find that at any other match the rest of the year.
Yep. I mean, that's the only reason that Christian went to shoot that match is because of how many people were there. So like
Yeah.
you want to go and you want to compete at that match.
Mm-hmm.
And so same with a lot of the other people. I mean, you have like Shane Coley and stuff. Like I don't think he hasn't shot carry optics in a little while, um, and he's there shooting, and so many of the guys from Open, like Andrew Hyder, the AMU guys, like Eden's shot, and
Yeah.
I mean, because the like then the results start to matter more because you're like, well, everyone was there. You
Yep.
can't be like, oh, well, this person wasn't there, that person wasn't there, whatever.
They were all there.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is these
Yeah.
place. That's why if those dudes, like again, like you said, if Sailor's willing to come out of Open to go shoot carry optics, you don't think that's a big deal? Like you don't think you should treat that like it's a big deal?
Yeah. Absolutely. The other side of that is if Open was the first weekend in October and this is the first weekend in September, is Seiler there? Because now it's really close to Open Nationals and maybe not. So I think the timing helped as well.
It did.
I'm gonna go out on a limb too and say that I was opposed to doing nationals in June at first, but now I understand it. It kind of makes sense. Because if you keep it at June for the next year, like okay, another year has passed, and August in Alabama is awful, right? That was just stepping straight out of a shower, right? You walk outside and you're stepping straight out of a shower, and you're in the jungle, like.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Ohio, Columbus, yeah, it's flat. There's not a lot of shade, but at least it ain't 1,000 degrees outside. This year it was a monsoon, but that's a different story.
Right. June Kim called it. He said it's
Jay,
going to be rainy.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. What was it like shooting in the rain like that?
It wasn't. So I mean, we did not have the worst of it. Like I think we shot a little bit in the rain on day one.
Do you think that helped you?
It always does. but I mean it wasn't bad. I think a lot of people don't like shooting bag targets. A lot of people really don't like taping bag targets. I mean, just
Right.
it's tricky.
Do you slow down when you're shooting targets in the rain? Like, do you feel slower?
I don't know. I think that's where it helps, where it's like everybody who's competing against each other is on one squad for the most part.
Yeah.
And so you're all getting the same conditions. So that's where it's like,
Yep.
if that does happen, then it pretty much everybody gets it.
But do
Agreed.
you feel slower? Like, do you feel like you're going? Let's say it's 100 degrees outside. Psych, I take it back.
Yeah.
75 degrees outside, sunny. But the difference is now it's raining, torrential downpour. Do you feel slower in that when you shoot?
I mean, what I will say is that when the temperature is warm and it's dry, I like my hands out, like I stay warmed up better. And so if I'm warmed up, then I'm going to be there. I'm going to draw faster. Everything's going to happen faster. But if you're
Quicker.
cold because it's raining, then it's because you're cold. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's slower.
What about, but specifically, what about when it's warm and dry and everything's not bagged and you can see A zones, you can see everything? Obviously, you're going to be at 100% speed for your match. But when it's bagged and it's a 20-yard shot that maybe is a partial, does that slow you down?
No, I think for me,
Okay.
It's almost easier because you can't see the scoring lines, and you're like, you just pick the center. You know where the center is, and or on a partial, you know where you're supposed to be aiming, and so there's no like, or at least for me, there's sometimes temptation to get.
Uh-oh. His phone died.
Oh, it probably did.
Dave, let's talk shit about him.
Well, and what I was going to ask him too is he didn't experience this, or maybe he did. I don't know. I don't remember what if he shot morning or afternoon first. But the year he went to and shot at Frostproof, his first nationals in 2021 or 2020, 2020, our first stage on day 2 had a 42-yard shot, and it was storming like crazy, so it was bagged. So all you saw was a blob 42 yards away. And I was just staring at it going, this is going to be tricky, even with the dot, still, putting my dot where I need it to be. So now that stage for me was one of my best stages for the match, but I almost treated my red dot like a front sight post because I wanted to be more accurate with it. So
Yeah. I
and
just
that-
shot. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All I was going to say is that target was slower for me because of that.
I just shot my first match in the rain, and that was an interesting experience. I just shot my
Okay.
first USPSA in the match in the rain, and that was, yeah. So I'm. This might sound stupid, but I was actually thinking about this. I'm like, I wonder if the next time it rains, I shouldn't go out and train, and just see if what I can do to replicate, because I've only ever shot once in the rain, and I was able to hit a piece of steel consistently at 20 yards. But this is back when I was rocking the clock with a Delta Point.
And
Like
paper
2020.
and steel are different when
Yeah,
you're aiming. Obviously, the white steel is, to me, easier to aim on than cardboard in the rain.
yeah, I hear you.
Because and Jay, what I was telling Rob while you were gone was stage 19, 2020 Nationals had that 42-yard target way out there. Remember that last stage in the very back? I was
Yeah.
telling Rob, I don't know about you, but I shot that stage on day 2 in the afternoon. It was our very first stage, and it was storming that day. That was the one day it rained. So the super squad shot in the morning,
Mhm.
and they shot it in good overcast conditions, which was actually good. And we shot it in, like, there were puddles of water everywhere. It looked like Cardinal.
Yeah.
And I was telling Rob that was one of my better stages, but that target was the very first target you engaged, and I had to use my dot more like a front sight post to make sure I had good hits because it was just a blob in the dark at 42 yards. But
Yeah.
when you transitioned over onto the steel, it was like, oh, that's much easier because of the contrast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's got to be
I mean,
crazy.
I feel like I saw some of that rain coming down, or I saw videos of it of people shooting in the afternoon on day 2 in 2020, and that was serious rain.
That was that was torrential.
Yeah.
Everybody was huddled under whatever overhang they could find. It looked like Caribbean open water. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. But
That sucks.
and I think Tim Dundry has a point too. This is a national level match. This is not an area match. It's not a state match. It's not a sectional. Why don't they have waterproof targets at a national level event?
Yeah.
Timmy brought up another fantastic point. Well, the other thing that Timmy noticed, and this might start a fight, it might not, but if you look at the match book versus the way they set up the target, the way they set up the stages, so two totally different things. So I think somebody just poorly executed setting up the stages from what I could see,
So
based upon how the match book looked.
So Jake so I shot Buckeye Blast there just so I could look at the stages and look at the range and get
The
familiar
layout, right?
with the area and stuff. And Jake was there. So Jake had a reference for what the bays looked like and everything, what everything was. And I almost think that to a certain extent, if your diagrams aren't meant for, or like if your diagrams are pulled from other matches and just kind of like put in, like you they're not going to fit or look the exact same way, then maybe you don't even post them. you know,
Right.
because yeah, there's no way. But so then if you get setup crews setting up a stage based off of a diagram that's not even designed for the bay, then you're going to end up with a stage that does not reflect the challenges that were intended on that stage.
Yeah.
And that's too bad. But so that's where it's like, if you, the stages, and I think that they're going to get better and better at this as the more nationals we hold at Cardinal.
Yeah.
But that's just from like a lot of the setup crew and stuff, where they're just like, okay, we know now that we have to interpret this stage diagram a little bit differently, or maybe the stage diagrams will actually be built then for the bay sizes. I mean, they're 40-foot wide bays by 25 or by 75 deep or whatever they are. I could be wrong about that, but they're very narrow.
Yeah, they're very narrow.
And I think they have more bullet traps, and they can, like, there can be good stages put in those bays. I mean, Buckeye had some really nice stages put in those bays. A couple of really nice stages. Some like but you can do some really cool stuff with those. So
Well, and if this is Jake's, because I've heard the same thing, that this is Jake's last year doing nationals. Like, he wants to give it back to the president. You know, there may be other input, like especially from the Cardinal guys, as to how to work the different bays.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it matters a ton on who you have, like, in charge of setting up the stage, because their interpretation of what the diagram means means a lot. And ideally, that person is the one who designed the stage, who's then setting it up. But obviously it cannot be the case.
So
Right.
to his credit, I'm willing to bet money that what you're saying is exactly what happened. And the reason is because, so 2022, I moved to Western Maryland. I took a job out there, and I didn't hold the job after 13 days. Whole another story. So I was unemployed for 3 months. So part of that unemployment was I worked for Lynn at Shadowhawk, helping her out with stuff. And
Okay.
she had a couple other people there, and they were setting up locals at the time. But Dave Ankeny started doing the stages at Shadowhawk. And so we would get a stage diagram, and the dudes who would be setting up the stages, none of them had any USPSA or competitive shooting experience. So it would be something as simple as like, okay, you know, the diagram shows a barrel and then a swinger behind the barrel. Well, they would set it up so that you could see the swinger laying down all the way from the right side of the stage, because there was no thought process in their head of like, I shouldn't be able to see the swinger anywhere else other than this one position where it was intended to be seen, because that is the choke point of the stage. And once I got there, I was like, no, like, why are you doing it like that? Started like making like tiny little adjustments, because that's the one thing. I mean, matter of conjecture, but every USPSA stage mostly has a choke point. There is a point in every USPSA stage where everybody's going to have to go through the same area, and what makes or breaks the stage is how people execute that. The people who screw up are the people who try to go too fast or whatever. The people who do it well are the people that they've experienced that 1,000 times before, and they go on. And your choke points are what matters. And I'm with Jay. I think what happened at Cardinal is that they just were not used to setting up that kind of stuff, and they didn't really know what Jake was going for. And they just sort of threw it out there and said, well, you know, this is nationals. I watched a little bit of it on YouTube and was just sort of like, this does not look anywhere close to what was in the matchbook.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah. I
go
like
ahead,
that.
Jay.
I like that a lot. How about it, matchbook? Yeah, without diagrams, lose the diagrams entirely. Just give us a round count. Give us like a rough idea what the skills are required. You know, by just some rough. And honestly, we don't even have to give a skill requirement. You just practice the things that we see at matches.
But that's still not going to fix the problem, because if you did that with the people at Cardinal, they would just throw out any old thing.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't fix the problem, but it fixes the criticism ahead of time.
Yeah, and
There's still
look,
going to
I
be
mean,
criticism. There's still
but
going to be criticism. Let's be honest here.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
there will always be criticism. But let's look at it this way. I have two things to say. One, you should have a president. You have three different range masters, and you have a match director, whomever that might be. So you've got five different people who should be looking at this. So you could have 100 monkeys out there setting it up, but you've got
Yeah.
five other people. That means four stages each that can go and make sure that they are the way they're supposed to be. Now,
Yeah.
Jay, I'm going to ask you something philosophically.
Okay.
Does it matter that the matchbook matches the match? Because if you're testing the best in the nation, they should be able to do regardless of what it is. Correct?
Well,
Or
I mean, no. So I don't think it matters because it never, honestly, it never matches the description.
Correct.
So that, I mean, I don't look at them anymore. I did not look
I
at
know,
this.
I know.
Yeah.
I know you did.
And I mean, obviously you can match them. You can match it because they set up a classifier at that nationals, or at this nationals. And so you can match those ones. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter. I think that the thing that we're getting at is that, yeah, there has to be, I think you said it, there has to be a process in place so that stages are built with the intention of the stage designer, so that you test what was intended to test. You don't just test something entirely different or not test anything at all. And then, and why that matters is because you want to have stages that allow people at the top to separate themselves from other people at the top, where you're testing a certain skill that you're good at, and then you can separate yourself and gain points in certain areas. And then you should test all of the things that are tested. There were some things at this match that were not tested. Like we did not, like, I think that we should test low ports occasionally.
You are evil.
I think that we should test
But
prone.
you're right.
I think we should, yeah.
Ooh,
I think we should
okay.
test prone at least on a stage. I think we should test hard, getting in and out of hard leans, making difficult shots, especially if we're shooting red dots. That was not tested necessarily. There were like 2 hard leans, mostly on easy targets, which doesn't test anything. And usually you were just ending there. So, I mean, there were things that were not tested. I think the shot difficulty was calibrated as it should be for a Carry Optics Nationals. Like it was pretty difficult, especially zone 1. But I don't know. I think that, getting back to what you had said, there should be a process in place so that the intention gets expressed when the stage is built.
The easiest way to fix this is to get Russell Fortney in charge of nationals. Just going to throw that out there. That dude, I'm just saying, my short experience with him, he's part of the old school that, like, he's like your granddad, that when you screw something up, he gets angry at you because there's a right way that things are supposed to be done. And he's the same way when it comes to USPSA, right? Like, you get that dude out there, I'm telling you, all these problems go away. I guarantee it. I would put money down on it. I would bet anybody $500 you put Russell in charge of nationals. That's going to be the best national ever. It's just my opinion.
I also, I'm going to add on to what Jay was saying about low ports and prone. Jay, I think if you look at like IPSC nationals and worlds and stuff like that, I think we need sliding targets, not swingers, not bobbers, but let's do moving. I agree. Test every single thing. It should be the hardest match of the year.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a great point with the moving targets too, like a variety of different moving targets. We didn't see that. We saw 2 moving targets, which we saw one kind of bobber. They were all the same speed, and we saw one kind of swinger. Most of them had the same presentation. There was one that was a little bit more of a challenging. But I mean, speaking of those bays, a slider is a perfect way to, like, add something challenging in one of those bays. Put a slider in the back.
Yeah.
and even up top, put them on. I really think it'd be cool to have 2 sliders, one on either side. It's on some form. I think that'd be great. But yeah, sliders, different variety, different moving targets, max traps, drop turners, everything, and because that tests more things.
The only thing I have against that, so Bill Drummond ran a match last year in Western PA, and Bill Drummond is a multiple-time IPSC national open shooter, world champ. There was a stage that was a pretty IPSC match, and there was a stage where there was one of those sliders, and that thing malfunctioned all day.
Has to work.
By the end of it, it should have been thrown out, and they didn't want to throw it out. And I think part of that was because Bill was like excited about it, like, oh, like I'm bringing what I used to do like into USPSA, and it was cool. The concept was cool, but the shit didn't work. Like, you should have thrown it out, because sometimes it went faster for other people, other times it didn't go for other people. Some people had to reshoot the stage like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why we don't have like that. What did they use at Area 1 all the time? That cart on the tracks where you get sent down
the
in
roller coaster. Yeah,
super cool, but that should probably just stay at an area match or something.
Well, and Drew Maruski has sent me several videos of some stuff they're working on for Western PA sectional that has a sliding target. Yep, on a track, so it's not a cable. It's nothing like that, and it looks literally amazing. It made me want to go shoot the match just seeing what he sent me. I'm like, that's exciting, because one was a steel target on a track, multiple steel targets on a track, and the other one. Go ahead.
That's a Targets USA thing, isn't it? Because he got that slider on a track sorted out, or it might be Drew, but no,
I'm not sure. I'll be honest, I don't know. It could be. It might very well be. I don't know. But the other one was a paper target on the track, and it looked phenomenal. It's like, that's what I'm talking about. That kind of stuff there, where it's not just, timing up a swinger. Now you've got this thing literally moving. So are you tracking it? Are you, some people call it trapping, I call it ambush. How are you engaging it? It's different, completely different.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, I was thinking about walking on at that match, because there's still a lot of open slots. I may walk on. And if I do, I'll send you the match footage.
But make sure you get your 4.0 GPA first.
So it's actually set up in such a way that week I don't have to write a paper. I just have to take a quiz. So if I get the quiz done by Thursday, I should be good. I'm in an easy class right now. The professor thinks it's hard. It's not hard.
Don't tell him that.
Yeah, we might want to cut that out.
He's going to be miles away from this podcast. He don't give a shit. Jay, you should come shoot it. Why don't you come shoot it?
I got to do. When's that? Like August?
It's not this weekend, but next weekend.
Oh, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why not? You're only up in Maine. It's like, what, 12 hours?
It's only 12 hours. I would probably fly at that point.
Then just fly. It's right next to Pittsburgh. Shit, we'll pick you up from the airport.
Yeah, July 28th.
Oh, 28th. Yeah, that's probably in amongst blueberry season at that point.
Every day is blueberry season, so I mean, just saying. I see you guys, you posting videos all the time of you picking that shit. I don't think it snows up in Maine. I think it's a myth now based upon your videos.
We just pick blueberries all the time.
Yeah.
What is the blueberry season, Jay?
It's all of August, but usually you stick a week.
Right at the end of July till the end of August. Okay. So because that'd be right at the beginning of August. So
yeah. I mean, if you want, come shoot it. I might walk on. My buddy's going. Ed Kelly is going, the guy that I've been working with. So there's plenty of slots available. You could literally walk on. I think Bill would be happy to see somebody from the Super Squad there. Hempel's going, I think.
Hempel's going. Hempel should go. I bet he will.
I think Hempel is going. If Cal's not going, I'd be kind of shocked if Cal wasn't going either. I mean, it's in our area.
Luke shoots everything. He shoots all the matches.
He does. Yeah. He shoots a lot of matches. I see him down in my area shooting all the time.
Yeah.
So. Fredericksburg's a good area, man.
I would come down there just to shoot like some local matches. come down for a week and shoot local matches. It'd be fun.
Yeah, where I live, it sucks because it's Baltimore, right? So like, I
Yeah,
live
you
in a
gotta come to
white
Virginia.
yeah, I live in a white bougie liberal part of Baltimore, but it's still Baltimore. But within like that 250 square mile radius area, you got Russell's matches, you got West Shore, you got Delmarva. I mean, like I literally go to a match. I could go to 2 matches every single weekend if I wanted to and not leave Area 8. It's great.
The problem is they all fill up very fast, Jay. That's the problem.
That's the
Yeah,
problem.
except when they see your Jay's name and they're like, "Oh, Jay Beal, he gets in."
I don't know if it works that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you think.
Oh,
Look, all
goodness.
I'm saying is, I know in the past matches have been full, and then suddenly Cal or Hempel show up, and they weren't on the list before, and it's like, huh? How did you?
Or Todd
guys-
Jarrett or Ron Francisco. Yeah.
Todd Jarrett, Ron Francisco are the shit. Those guys deserve to be in. Ron is
Ron
the nicest
Francisco.
dude in the whole freaking world. That guy tried to get me a job, and he didn't know me from anything.
Yeah, he's a super nice dude, man.
He's
So is Todd.
literally-
I mean,
I haven't met
yeah,
Todd. I've only met him once.
Ron's a super nice dude.
Are you with Todd Sindelar or Todd Jarrett?
Todd, I know who Todd Sindelar is, but we don't. We've never really had a conversation.
You should get him on here. That dude's been. I remember him shooting when I was a kid, and I actually told him that, and he
Well,
said,
that
"God,
was
that
just
makes
a couple
me
years
feel
ago. I mean, I'm twice of you. I'm twice you, right?
old." You're what? You're 50?
7. Well, I'll be 57 in 3 months.
That's not bad.
No, it's not. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Well,
Jay, you're what? 30?
I'm like 30. I'm 29.
You're 29?
Yeah.
And you have a farm and a house and 3 kids?
Only 2 kids, but we'll go with 3.
Damn, I feel like an idiot.
So you have to tell everybody what happens when people find out that you're single, and then what you were sending me messages about this.
Oh, what? The single women that are trying to hit me up, that they're all above 30 and they've made horrible life decisions and they're expecting me to be their savior. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. So when women hit 30, I don't care how this comes across. When women hit 30, assuming that there's nothing wrong with them beforehand, which is unlikely because they've been in the dating game for a minute, right? They've either got a failed marriage or a kid or both, right? And I'm hitting a point now where like I'm 30 years old and I'm single, and the dating market is just like it's slowly shrinking, and it's horrible because it is literally all these. I mean, like I can't tell you how many times we're like, you see a somewhat attractive girl and she's got like 3 kids, and it's like, great, like you're gonna be a stepdad now, no, right? It's like, no, like I barely know you. Like what's that's the market that I'm in currently, and it sucks. It's just it's not a fun time.
You chose the wrong college course. That's all I gotta say.
I chose a lot of wrong things. I chose a lot of really wrong things, and now, but I mean, at the same time too, I'm kind of glad that I'm single now, because now I get more time to focus on USPSA, and I mean, if anything, it's just solidifying to me, right? Because like now I know more of what I'm looking for, so like now I can look at some of those girls and be like, oh God, like I'm not wasting my time with you. Like USPSA better than you. Like I'm just saying. Look, USPSA can take you somewhere if you put the right amount of time into it, right? And a girl can take you somewhere too. Similarly, both can destroy you. It's about how much you put into it, right? So like you can get with a woman and they can rip you apart. I've had that happen. And you can get with another lady and she's cool, and then suddenly she's not so cool. It's life, man. I'm gonna stay single for a minute and focus on just USPSA. Like that's what I want to do. I want to see what I can get out of this. And then furthermore, I need some stability in my life before I can even think about involving a woman in it. Because it's like, hey, I live with my parents, and I just started after a 6-month unemployment hiatus. I just started working again, and I spend all my time at this sport. Do you want to go on a date? They're like, It's a shit show.
I have no comment.
Hey, just be grateful, bro. You found a nice lady and a puppy.
Well, I too have a divorce in my past, so
Do you
it is
really?
what it
Oh,
is.
you are a Marine. So.
yeah.
It is what it is, man.
Well,
It is.
I think that it is my bedtime 2 hours ago, but
I'm sorry.
We
I
have
didn't
covered
mean
a lot.
I didn't mean for this to drag on this long. I can talk all.
it's
freaking-
great. It's great. I think
It
this
is.
is a good one.
I
Do
agree.
you really?
I do. I really do.
You're gonna make me cry.
All right,
Is
one
this-
last question. How
is
many
this guy
rounds per year to
Joseph?
make GM and make the super squad? But I don't think rounds matter
Hey,
as
Joseph.
much as it
is-
used to.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Rob.
Joseph,
take it.
are you Wisco Joe? Is this Wisco Joe turning in on this?
All right, let's see if he answers.
Type yes if you're listening. If you're Wisco Joe from Wisco.
Is it?
This is the dude.
Nothing yet. I'm waiting. He hasn't
If this
replied.
is who I think it is, this is the guy you should have on your podcast. This dude, he was.
Are you
in
the one
Marine-
to send me the link to him?
Yeah, he was in the Marine
Okay.
Corps. He was a combat vet for the United States during one of our wars. And then on top of that, he shoots. He loves USPSA. He wants to shoot it. He had 2 kids with his wife, and then on top of that, different Joseph. Still love you too, but on top of that, Joe and his wife saw 2 kids across the street with bum parents, and bum parents were pretty much going out of the picture, so they adopted them. So Joe literally is a single father working, trying to support 4 kids, 2 of which are not his, just so that they can have a better life than what they were going to have, which was probably going straight to the gutter. That's a
Wow.
dude you should have on this show.
I'll have to reach out to him.
And get the other Joseph on the show too.
Yeah, and then have JB back
Joseph
on
from
too.
Colorado.
And get Joseph from Colorado on the show.
Colorado.
This is not me, retired cop, military vet. Doesn't matter. All the same person.
I think
There we go. Go ahead, Jay.
no, I think it's a really tricky question to answer because there are a lot of variables, and it depends on what division you're talking about too. Because making the super squad in production right now potentially is easier than making it in carry optics. So I think you can make GM with like very minimal live fire. And I think you can make the super squad with pretty minimal live fire too, but I think it just comes down to the paying attention part. I think the best current example is Joey Sauerland on this because I think he has shot in 9,000 rounds in total, and I think he started in 2020, and he
He's
made
winning
GM.
matches.
He made GM by shooting. I think he shot like 3,000 rounds in total.
Wow.
I think it took me like 6,000 rounds in total to make GM before I made GM. But then, I mean, he's obviously someone who's in a conversation for winning nationals. Obviously, he's off the super squad right now because I don't think he's shot that many nationals, or he just got so much better in the past year. But I think what does matter is how much you pay attention and what you pay attention to. I think that matters a lot more than the number of rounds.
Quantity
and
over
obviously dry
quality.
fire matters more than that.
All right.
Hempel said something a while ago, and it really clicked with me when he said it. And I'm not a GM, but I used to do jujitsu. And when you start treating, this is what he said, when you start treating practical shooting like a martial art where you are practicing the same thing for thousands of hours, that's where it comes into play. I can't tell you how many times in a night I do a holster draw. Can't tell you how many times in a night I do a reload. Probably about 300 or 400 in a night.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a GM yet, right? Like, and I can't imagine how many practicing reloads Cal has done. I know for a fact, Hempel says that when he used to shoot in a CZ SP01, he had a frame that was his live fire frame that is so full of dead skin that he has just left on there as a memento to the thousands of hours of dry fire that he has put in. He will not clean it.
Yeah, I think the answer comes down to how much time you spend with the gun in your hand, and there's a pretty strong correlation to the people who spend a lot of time with the gun in their hand.
Jerry
Okay.
Mitchell, another example. He just had the revolver frame and just pulling the trigger all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of examples. Yeah, I agree. Quantity over quality.
Before we split, may I do 2 shameless plugs?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, first one, Outdoor Dynamics, my sponsor. John is an awesome dude. He's helped me out a lot. Amazing human being. Makes the best ammo on the market. No questions asked. That's my personal opinion, but I'm going to be willing to lay down money that it's fact. Everybody that I know that I have gotten to try Outdoor Dynamics ammunition has loved it. He makes 125s and 147s. Blue bullets are his favorite. That's what he's been running, but he will custom tailor shit, make stuff for you. He's got discount codes and stuff like that. You can talk to him. Number 2, there is a dude I have been talking to on the old Instamagams. His name is Gregory Clement. He's part of Team Masterpiece Arms. Would you be willing to have him on the show at some point, or has he already been on here?
Oh yeah,
He is not.
I don't know him, but I think I follow him. He's pretty cool.
He's solid. He's on team, like I said, he's Team Masterpiece.
Yeah,
and I think he's a younger guy. He looks like he's in his early 20s.
Do you have? Can you send me a link so I can? Sometimes
I'll do.
These guys are impossible to find on Instagram because they don't. Instagram's not friendly.
No, Instagram hates gun people. I 2 weeks ago had a blue-haired lady looking at my account. I can tell you that. It's pretty bad.
I believe it.
That's all I
Jay,
got.
do you need to plug anybody?
I'm looking at a piece of paper that I should plug.
Plug them, man. Plug them. Do your job. Do what you got to do. Nobody will blame you.
Well, so I'm going to second Outdoor Dynamics, and then so then Walther hat. Walther's good. Walther has helped me out.
He says Walther is good.
Walther is good.
He's only wearing a Walther hat. They're like, yeah, they're good. They're fine.
Also, here's this too.
There we go.
Which I've been. Steve gave me this hat at National, so thank you,
Okay.
Steve, for my Walther hat. And then speaking of Steve, thank you, Steve, AndersonShooting.com and Mental Management. So I guess thank you, Lanny Basham, as well. And then Targets USA, AMG Lab, who makes the Commander Timer, Hunters HD Gold. We already said Outdoor Dynamics. Thank you, John. GX Products, who makes the GX holster, the Vice holster, which is really nice. And then CR Speed, who makes mag pouches that are awesome, and belts that are good. And then
I wanted
Rune
to say
Tac-
the finest.
the fine. I'm not gonna do it.
Everything's
but then-
fine. No, it's not great, but it's like whatever. Like, thanks for sponsoring me, I guess.
It's really no. So I'm going down through because I hardly ever do this because on podcasts because, and then we already mentioned Rune Tactical for your 24+1. Sometimes you get it right away without any modification, so you might get lucky. Depends on your base pad and stuff.
Is that the slogan?
And then shooting sports innovations, which well, Steve has hooked me up with so many of these people, but shooting sports innovations, and then most recently Summit City Bullets, which I just changed my press over to them, and I'm shooting 135s now instead of 124s. And so Summit City Bullets, they're cool. If you want a discount, you have to go to my Instagram profile and then meander your way until you find a discount code.
Go to your OnlyFans.
Yeah, you don't even have to subscribe for the discount code. It's just somewhere on there.
Now, okay, I can't let you go because I'm a ballistics guy, and I haven't shot 135s, but I feel like they're a very good in between the 147 and the 124s. Like they give you the best of the soft and the fast. Yes, no?
Yes.
I've shot a lot of my my friends 135s through obviously through my gun before I shot these, and I don't think they were Summit City, but they were 135s, and yeah, I think they're a good compromise if you can't decide.
Okay.
But I
Yeah.
shot 124s for a long time, and I think they're fine too. But yeah, I think you got it correctly. You said it well.
Okay. Yeah. That's how I look at. I shoot 115s, 124s. I've shot 147s, but I feel like I'm really looking at that 135 as like that might be. I'm not a fan of 147s, but I'm really liking the look of that 135.
I think you should try 125s from Outdoor Dynamics and see if it doesn't rival your 135s.
Yeah, I mean
That's-
that's what I shot. That's what I shot for a long time.
It's on par for me. Like they feel that I love 135s, but when I shoot John's 125s, it's so much different than any other. Because I mean, I shoot black dot, and then I shoot John's 125s. John's wins. I don't know what he does to him. He sprinkles a little bit of his dandruff in him and like says a magical prayer.
It's
But-
the damn.
Again,
Yeah.
I'm not commenting.
I mean, you could probably reach out to John and he might send you like a little sample pack. I don't see why he wouldn't. He usually does that for people. I don't know if you've ever
He
shot
totally-
his stuff. It's good. It's good, Dave. It's good stuff.
I believe it.
I got Cardenas on Outdoor Dynamics, and now that's all he uses for major matches.
Yeah.
Josh
He sent
Cardenas.
me right. He sent me a small packet to test. He was doing something. He was doing some testing just to shoot out of the different canics that I have. And they all
Yes.
function. It functioned great in 3 different canics.
Yeah, I
3
think
different models of canics.
John just got some bullets from Summit City. I think he got them for 40. So I think he was loading some 40. Which again, like, should 40 exist? Probably not. But
Joey.
Joey,
Cheater.
Joey doesn't shoot that many of them, so just give them for matches or whatever.
Yeah, and now we know why, because they're fucking $1 a round. So
Wow. Go back to rifle for that.
All right, that's it. And then thank you, Dave, for giving me a mug, because I've been using your mug to scoop
Awesome.
my bullets out of the bag and then dump them in to the truck. I mean, I took a video of it. It's pretty funny. I'm gonna post it later on.
Okay.
I heard
I'll tag
scoop
you.
and it's like, hack.
All right.
Appreciate you, Dave. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you guys. We'll definitely be in touch.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later.